Good morning, everybody. We're going to get started. I want to welcome you all back to our Midsummer Regional Council meeting. I just want to start by behalf of the Governor thanking Chancellor Goldstein for all his great leadership, Joe Tazewell, and thank them. I want to also acknowledge the Chancellor will introduce our new members. One of the things that have changed since the last meeting, we have voting members from the legislature. We have one esteemed member here, who I'll introduce momentarily. From the Assembly, we have Speaker Sheldon Silver, who will be a voting member of this body. From the Senate, we have Senator Marty Golden, who could not be here today. He is a member of his team here. I thank them both and welcome them both. And I just would say, going back to the many years I've known the Speaker, he is an extraordinary public servant. What I like about the Speaker the best is that he has a history of doing one thing. He'll look you in the eye and tell you the truth. His candor and straightforward manner, especially in Albany and government, is something that you really appreciate. He has done a phenomenal job. I'll speak for the Governor. In the last 18 months, the partnerships that have been forged with the Governor, Speaker Silver, Senator Skelos from the Senate, I think as a team they've accomplished some extraordinary things. So I'd like to welcome Speaker Silver and ask him to say a few words.
Thank you. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor. This works. You got to move it close. Thank you very much, Lieutenant Governor, for your kind and generous words. I'm delighted to join this distinguished group. Yes, New York is open for business, and I'm glad to have played a part in a legislative program that really authorizes all of the activities we have here and in regional councils around the state. And I salute Bob Duffy, who has traveled, probably he's at about 1 million miles now in his 18 months, just going around the state, doing everything that has to be done. I don't want to hinder the what's taking place here today by making long-winded speeches, other than to say, you know, this is the future of New York, our ability to generate jobs, to keep our college graduates here in New York State, to provide the opportunities in the marketplace so they can stay here, that our residents can be employed here. That's what this is really all about. And I think we are certainly moving down toward the goal line of providing high-tech jobs in many instances, but it's certainly a new economy that New York is facing. And with the work that everybody here is doing and the work that's being done around the state, we're going to meet that challenge in a very, I would say, in a very short time. And I salute Lieutenant Governor and Matt Goldstein for chairing this event, and the great things that Matt is doing at CUNY only adds to the talent that's available for businesses to locate here. So thank you all for participating.
Thank you, Speaker, very much. And just one final note. Interesting thing about Speaker Silver, he could have delegated this. I think it's highly unusual at any of the regional councils to get somebody of his stature in the Assembly to come and be part of this. So I really appreciate him volunteering to be the representative of the New York City Regional Council. And without any further ado, I'm going to turn over to Matt Goldstein.
Thank you, Mr. Lieutenant Governor. Let me start by also welcoming Shelley Silver. Jerry, it's good to see you representing Marty Golden this morning. We do have an additional 2 members that have joined the council, and I thank the governor for 2 really extraordinary people. First, Monique Greenwood. She's the former editor-in-chief of Essence magazine, and now for 3 years she's been, or 5 years, she's been the CEO of Aquaba Bed and Breakfast Inns. And we'll have to check out some of those, Monique, and thank you for joining us. And seated next to Monique is Wellington Chen. He is the Executive Director of the Chinatown Partnership and a dear friend and a very, very active and trusted and erudite trustee of the City University of New York. And we're delighted to have you. I was with you for many hours last night, and we'll continue it this morning, but a different agenda. So welcome to Wellington Chen as well. I'd like to thank Antonio Perez, who I believe is in the audience. He is the president of Borough Manhattan Community College, which is one of the 7 community colleges that makes up part of an asset class of community colleges here at the City University of New York. And I wanted to thank Antonio for his graciousness and for hosting us this morning. All of you have received a copy of a publication that CUNY did called Jobs for New York's Future. This was a task force that I established, asked Rick Schaefer, who was a former managing partner of Schulte Roth and joined us as general counsel several years ago, and has done a wonderful job in assembling a team of people to do a deep dive into some of the important questions that continue to plague us. Perhaps the most important question is, what are the jobs of tomorrow, and what are the skills that those jobs are going to require, and how can we prepare young people and not so young people to recalibrate and refocus their job acquisition skills to be ready to do the work and to serve as an attractor for businesses to come into the city. We have 2 people with us this morning, Dr. Suri Deitch, who is an administrator at the City University of New York, has been staffed to the council, working very closely in part with Kathy Wild. And seated next to her is Shane Spaulding, who was deeply involved in helping to put this task force report together. I'd like to turn the mic over to the 2 of them for their brief presentation.
Right. Thank you, Chancellor. So thanks for having us here this morning. Well, I'm always at these meetings, right, but not necessarily always at the table. The Chancellor had mentioned to this group at a couple points last fall, I think, that he had put together this task force. And it was a great opportunity for the university, and I think for higher education in New York City in general, to take a very important periodic look at some specific industries. In this case, it was finance, insurance and accounting, healthcare, higher education, information technology, and media and advertising. And as the Chancellor said, ask the questions of what are the jobs of tomorrow? How do employers feel our graduates are doing in terms of filling jobs now, coming out of college? And we had this wonderful opportunity to do a great deal of original research, a combination of statistical analysis, of labor market information done by the New York City Labor Market Information Service at the Graduate Center, but even more importantly, qualitative research, interviews with many major employers. They tended to be large employers in important New York City industries, to talk to them about what was their perspective on how their industries were changing and evolving, what was being demanded of new workers and would be demanded of future workers. And if you have any interest in these issues of, what's the match between individuals coming out of college and the needs of specific industries, I strongly encourage you to take a look at the report. We heard a combination of things that we always hear about new people coming into the workforce in terms of the skills and qualities that are needed, and also, as the Chancellor has commented, a number of fresh observations from employers that will be really just of tremendous value to the university going forward in terms of thinking about how we keep our degree programs up to date and how we do the best possible job of introducing our students to the labor market or reintroducing them to the labor market as they advance. So I'm just going to hand this over to Shane Spalding, who's our University Director of Workforce Development, who is really the major researcher along with myself a little bit, Teresa Desmond, who's the Chancellor's Director of Special Projects, who many of you know who's buried back there with the cables, and again, the Labor Market Information Service staff. And Shane has just picked out what we thought were some of the most compelling findings that we thought would be of interest to this group this morning. So thank you.
Thank you, Suri, and thank you everyone for having me here today. So I thought I would just highlight some of the findings and talk a little bit about the interviews we conducted with people from industry. As Suri mentioned, we talked to a number of people. We started with the task force members, but then spoke to other individuals in each of the targeted sectors. We talked to a total of 39 people for the report and then combined that with analysis of labor market data. We started our conversations with trying to understand the drivers and the key trends across the 5 sectors. And these trends and drivers won't be surprising to any of you, but it was really important for understanding what were the demands, the labor market demands. So the first that came out clearly were the economic conditions. Even though we know that we're in a better place than we were a few years ago, there was still some uncertainty about the future, and this was affecting employers and their thinking about hiring and just some uncertainty about what the future holds. Related to that was uncertainty about regulatory change. So in the healthcare sector, not knowing really what's going to happen as a result of healthcare reform, and as we all know, we're still waiting for the Supreme Court to make a decision here. So there's a lot of unknown factors which make it difficult for employers to plan in the area of healthcare. Another regulatory issue just in finance and accounting, people talked about hiring more people in the areas of risk management, and just compliance in general. One of the biggest drivers we heard about were the changes in technology. Changes in technology, of course, affect the IT sector specifically, but then have impacted jobs across all sectors, all occupations. We see the move towards cloud technology, towards mobile technology, and just also in New York City, just a growing technology sector here, which is really creating new demands in the workforce. We see a large amount of data, what's so-called big data. So employers in all sectors are collecting more data and then therefore needing to analyze more data. So needing people who can who can do that analysis. We heard about the trend of globalization. So the trend of companies operating globally, needing people who can meet the needs of or can respond to a diverse customer base. That's both abroad and here at home. And then the challenges of managing a multi-generational workforce. So you have at least 3 generations in the workplace right now, and what challenges that brings. So that includes, you have people who are young, who are sort of born using technology, so they bring advantages, right? That's not something that you need to teach. But at the same time, employers talked about people needing to be better prepared for the workplace, having better work ethic, knowing how to dress, get to work on time, all of those kinds of things. And so talked about the need for colleges and universities to prepare new graduates for the workplace in those ways. After talking to employers about the trends, we focused in on the jobs and the skills that are in demand. We did hear about specific occupations where employers were having a hard time finding workers. So in healthcare, we heard about the need for lab technologists. We heard about sort of anticipated shortages of primary care providers. In IT, we heard about the need for programmers and for people with engineering degrees. And I know the city there are a number of efforts here in the city to address that issue. But mostly what we heard from employers were about skill shortages. So one of the interesting things we heard was about the value of the T-shaped professional. So this is someone who has very specific technical skills, but then a broad understanding of their industry. So in healthcare, you want someone who can do that specific task, but understands healthcare reform, understands chronic disease, just has a bigger picture. In IT, needing people who have strong technical skills, but then also can manage projects and can deal with people. And so these were all very important. We talked to employers about the importance of sort of some of the fundamental skills associated with the liberal arts education. So people need, and this is not new, right? People need to be able to communicate well, both orally and in writing, have strong analytical skills, critical thinking skills. The employers talked about the need for recent graduates who are creative and have curiosity and are willing to change. As technology changes, they need to be able to keep up with those changes. After focusing in on some of those skill demands, we sort of moved towards what were some of the recommendations of the people we interviewed, and we came up with a set of recommendations as a task force. First was to build deeper relationships with industry. It's clear that this is essential to keep curricula relevant, make sure that we're responding to industry needs. And the question is sort of how do you build those relationships? And that's something we're exploring now. Is it through advisory boards or creating a single point of contact for employers who want to engage with the university? There was also the idea of using CUNY discipline council. So at CUNY, the nursing chairs, for example, convene on a regular basis. So is that a place where you could create a point of contact for industry? There is a need for, because employers said that people don't seem to be work ready in the general sense, the need to give people better career guidance and sort of work readiness, how to write a resume, what are the things they need to know in general going into the workforce. We heard strongly the need for people who have work experience. So this is both building in work experience in the form of simulation in the classroom, but also creating opportunities for internships as people can gain needed experience, but also connections to industry through those work experiences. And then finally, there was a set of recommendations around further research, so wanting to really understand what are the best practices at CUNY and elsewhere, and how can we build upon those practices, and how can we continue to monitor the labor market and labor market data to ensure that our programs are relevant to industry. So with that, I'll thank you so much, and I'll turn it back to the Chancellor.
Thank you very much, Shane, and thank you, Suri, as well. I will tell you that I've heard from so many people who have received this report and really feel it's very valuable and help to capture some of the critical things that they worry about on a day-to-day basis. And as you said, the city under our mayor and Deputy Mayor Barb Steele, they have taken such a lead with all of the extraordinary events that have been announced this past year, certainly starting with the wonderful collaborative with Cornell and the Technion. That is truly going to be an extraordinary event in the future of the city. The new Genome Center with its new space in Soho. I mean, there is a real sense of companies and real talent wanting to come and work and start their companies here in New York. And one of our challenges is going to prepare a workforce, starting with K through 12 and through all of our universities, to ensure that people are well-trained, highly skilled, and can be ready for the very demanding work that will be required of all of these companies. So my hat is off to you, Bob, for the wonderful work that you continue to do. Let me just do a very quick recap of our previous meeting, and then I'm going to turn to Kathy for one of the main events we hope to accomplish this morning. At our last meeting, we heard from Derek Utter, Deputy Director of Agency Redesign and Efficiency of the Spending and Government Efficiency Commission. Boy, that's a mouthful. We also received a report of the Recharge New York allocations for our region. In addition, Irene Baker presented what we can expect in 2012 for the Regional Economic Development Council initiative and the second round of consolidated funding applications. We also received an update on Plan NYC and heard progress reports on 4 of our priority projects: the Hunts Point Terminal Produce Market, the Brooklyn Navy Yard Green Manufacturing Center, New York City Seed Start, and the Staten Island Green Zone. Lastly, we heard a presentation on New York City's and New York State's effort to assist small businesses. Since our last meeting, Governor Cuomo, Mayor Bloomberg, and Borough President Marty Markowitz announced that funding has been secured to begin construction of a $46 million development of the Green Manufacturing Center at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, one of our priority projects. In addition, state agency staff so far conducted 4 consolidated funding application workshops in Queens, Staten Island, the Bronx, and Manhattan. The next and final CFA workshop is scheduled for this coming Thursday at Medgar Evers College in Brooklyn. Just to remind all of you, our next scheduled meeting is September 12th, but we will be engaged in many activities over the summer. Those activities will include identifying new priority projects, drafting a document that will report on the implementation of our strategic plan and list our new our priority projects, and lastly, scoring the new projects submitted through the CFA process. So that's a very quick recap of what we've been involved in the last couple of months. I would like now to ask Kathy, the chair of our writing committee, to discuss the council's implementation agenda. There are essentially 2 major components, as you know, to this work. First is for Kathy to work with the writing committee to gather together all of the good work that has taken place during 2012 to implement various aspects of the plan and to situate these activities within the council's strategic framework. The second is to charge committees of the council with oversight of specific aspects of implementation, specifically in the areas of small business development, minority and women business owners, and capital and infrastructure development. I've asked Gary LaBarbera, thank you, Gary, and Steve Spinola, thank you, Steve, to co-chair a new committee on development and infrastructure with assistance from our deputy mayor and his staff. The purpose of the committee will be to look at the implementation of individual projects being supported by the council, and also to look more generally at development and infrastructure issues that interest the council, such as waterfront development. And I'm looking for volunteers to work with Gary and for Steve, and you can see Jay Hershenson or Suri Deitch or Irene after the meeting to indicate if you'd like to join in these efforts. So let me turn this over to Kathy Wild. Kathy, thank you.
Thank you, Matt. I don't have too much more to add. What we're obviously talking about is revisiting our original strategic plan that we adopted last November and submitted to the competition. In the course of the review of that plan, which was done very conscientiously by a great committee of reviewers, we got some feedback that suggests a couple of things about implementation. One is, in updating the plan, it was suggested that we really didn't have enough depth in the workforce development side, and apropos to the presentation that that you just heard from CUNY, we're kind of going back to the drawing boards, and I think we invite all of you to provide some input in that. But we're talking with the Deputy Mayor's staff, with Small Business Services, which shepherds workforce development for the city, and with CUNY and others to try and make sure that we can, for this resubmission, beef up that section of the plan, since there's another competitive process, and we want to make sure they know we listen to the reviewers, and we are coming back with some corrections. So that's one area. The second area was they felt that some of our thinking was, it was great that it was comprehensive, but it was a little diffuse, particularly as it related to the broad swath of opportunity zone activity, and how were we going to narrow that down into real actionable items as opposed to sort of a broad designation of areas. And these are the areas, if you recall, that have been over the last decade rezoned, prepared for redevelopment. Many of them did get caught up in the housing and credit crisis of the last couple of years, in the recession, and so didn't go forward quite as quickly as planned. But there's an opportunity. We call them opportunity zones because they're ready to go sites, but in terms of fleshing out the specifics and setting some priorities, was the request. And so we're going to be trying to do that, working with the city on figuring out where the various opportunity zones are in the progress of their development, and what specifically we should put in the revised plan in terms of actionable projects, actionable items, priorities, et cetera. So I think those are two activities that we're going to be carrying out over the course of the summer, and be able to come back here in September with more definition, a revised submission of on the plan. The other thing, in addition to the committee that the Chancellor has asked Steve and Gary to co-chair on the development and infrastructure issues, and relating to Steve Hindy's Legislative and Regulatory Committee, we did have a meeting with Larry Schwartz, Secretary of the Governor, and they have now set up subcommittees statewide to look at some of these issues. So there's an opportunity to percolate up. So we've got to get busy, hopefully in the next couple of months this summer, making sure that we are feeding in both to our plan and also to the statewide Chairman's Council and Larry Schwartz's Mandate Relief Council, our recommendations. So that's another area of implementation that is both local and statewide. So I think those are the main things that that I would report. Obviously, the CFA process, the scoring and all that will go on. And we're going to hear more in terms of updates, regular updates, and today about the priority projects and the revised priorities, and all of which we really have to be active on. And I think that what all of our job is on the council and all the support and interest groups is to make sure that we use this process to really bring our community together around our economic development, workforce development priorities. And we, I know a number of us are already doing that informally and to some extent formally. I was out on Staten Island with Caesar and Gary Kassar looking at one of the priority projects in terms of Howland Hook and what their needs are for their next generation of activity. So I think we're doing that, and at the announcement of the Willets Point developer designation and that project moving forward in Queens. So I think a lot of us are trying to get more involved informally. The more we can do that and then document what you're doing in these various areas, so we can incorporate in the plan, the report and the progress report, how much we're all doing to kind of support each other's efforts, to support what the city's doing to bring our community together around the jobs and economic development issues. I think that will stand us very well in the competition for the next round of funding, which, once again, we hope to win.
Thank you, Kathy. That was a great report. As always, any reaction additions to some of Kathy's statements and ideas? Any of you may have? All right, let's move on. I'd like to ask Ken Knuckles, who is the chair of our scoring committee. Welcome, Ken.
Thank you, Chancellor.
To provide an overview of the CFA scoring process, including the new regional council statewide endorsement standards and the timetable and process for scoring. So Ken, the microphone
Thank
is
you.
yours.
Thank you, Matt, and good morning, all. The CFAs must be submitted online by Monday, July 16th, 2012, by 4 p.m. Once member recusals are determined, the 10-member scoring committee, which I chair, will begin its work. The final regional council scores are due to be submitted to state agencies by Monday, August 27th. Therefore, in order to give the full council, this council, sufficient time to review and ratify the scores, the scoring committee will and must complete its work by Friday, August 17th. The ratification of the recommended scores will be conducted via email, again with appropriate recusals, since the next regional council is not scheduled until September 12th. So again, the regional council scores must be submitted to state agencies by Monday, August 27th. Therefore, in order to give this council sufficient time to review and ratify the scores, the scoring committee will complete its work no later than Friday, August 17th. Now, the review and ranking of the CFAs is going to be based on a set of endorsement standards. And the Regional Council will utilize these statewide endorsement standards when reviewing the CFAs. The evaluative criteria that is going to be utilized is as follows. Implementation of the plan. If the proposal is identified as a priority project by the regional council, then that proposal will be accorded 20 points. If a proposal is identified in the plan and has regional benefits and is considered by the scoring committee to be a very strong proposal, then it can be accorded up to 15 points. If the proposal advances the regional council's plan and has local benefits, hiring, MWB, et cetera, and it is considered a very, very strong proposal pursuant to that criteria, then it can be awarded up to 10 points. If the proposal is consistent with the plan and has project-level benefits, which I guess could be described as project-level benefits but less than local benefits, then it will be awarded up to 5 points. If the proposal, however, has a limited relationship or arguably no relationship to the plan and does not advance any of the priorities of the plan, then it will likely not be accorded any points. As was the case last year, the regional council endorsement, however, will account for only 20% of the total review. The remaining 80% will be accorded by the state agencies. The applications after the scoring committee has done its work will, as I said, be advanced to the state agencies, and the applications will there undergo due diligence and technical reviews by the state agencies administering the grant programs, and the agency review will account for 80% of the total review. So the scoring committee's work will account for 20% of the score of a given application, and the remaining 80% will be accorded by the state agencies. Thus far, I'm advised that we have received nearly 200 applications, maybe more since I last spoke to Joe Tazwell, thus far for round 2. That is the extent of my report.
Okay, thank you, Ken, very much. Let me just pick up on a couple of points that you touched on and just put a little more texture on it. With respect to our new priority projects, the Council recently approved criteria which have been posted on the Regional Council's website. You will recall that as part of the process of creating a 5-year economic development plan in 2011, the Council identified several criteria for identifying priority projects. For 2012, in addition to considering those criteria, the Council will give special consideration to proposals that incorporate the following components. First, interregional cooperation. In addition to multi-region economic impact, the Council is seeking proposals that contribute toward building industry clusters across multiple regions of New York State. Second, partnerships between business and institutions of higher education. Such partnerships will capitalize on the state's higher education assets in research, workforce development, education, and training in ways that directly contribute to creating jobs, developing new businesses, and hiring local residents. And lastly, strong business partnerships. Projects designated as priority by the Council must have substantive partnerships with business and/or employers. These are not negotiable. These are necessary, but they're not sufficient to make something a priority project. So I want to keep that very well in the minds of everybody competing for consideration of a priority project. We are going to move very shortly into the public forum, but before we do so, I'd like to introduce Tim Sullivan, who is with us today, to give a brief report. Is Tim here? Tim, brief report on some of the ideas coming out of the mayor's office and Deputy Steele's office, if you're ready to do that.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chancellor and Mr. Chairman, Mr. Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Speaker. It's good to be here this morning. We'll have individual presentations in the public forum portion on all of the projects we're going to be putting forward this morning. I would comment that there's going to be 3 or 4 that are citywide in their reach. One that relates to waterfront development, which I think is consistent with a lot of what was spoken of earlier this morning. Another relates to broadband connectivity that the mayor and the Speaker Quinn, released a program on last week that would build on that initiative. And then finally, a program that would focus on brownfield redevelopment. And then there'll be a number of specific location-specific projects like the Brooklyn Navy Yard. I know Andrew Kimball is here. He'll have a proposal for the Brooklyn Navy Yard, and also projects in each of the boroughs. I'd comment and add on what Kathy had mentioned earlier. The one project that we will look to work with a number of the members of the council, including CUNY and the Bronx Borough President's Office, is a project that we think is very important around workforce development in the Bronx. And I spoke with the Borough President's Office yesterday to capitalize on a lot of the investments that the state and the city and the Borough President's Office have made in job creation in the Bronx related to Fresh Direct, Smith Electric Vehicle, and lots of other opportunities up there to make sure that residents in the Bronx have an opportunity to participate in those job creation opportunities. as those come online and make sure that, that they have the skills and the capabilities that they need to participate there. And so we'll look to partner with CUNY and with the Bronx Borough President's Office and with those employers to develop a program that we'll have more details on over the next few weeks as we put that together. But that's one priority that I think that we certainly recognize, as Kathy mentioned, is an important piece of what we'd like to do. And then there are a number of projects that are more site-specific development projects, one in Jamaica, one in Coney Island, one on Staten Island, and then an entrepreneurship program in Upper Manhattan that we're excited about all those projects. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, but many of my colleagues from the city will have more detailed presentations on those specific ideas in the open forum.
Thank you very much, Tim. We appreciate that. We're ready to move into public session now, and I just want to set some parameters for all of you. We have a large number of speakers, and I'm going to be very insistent that each of you stay within the 3-minute limitation, because I want to give everybody an opportunity to be heard today. There is a clock, and I think it will cue you when you have 30 seconds left so that you can prepare to finish your remarks. I also will call 2 people at once, so the second person is ready to come up as soon as the first person finishes their remark, so that we can expedite this process fairly quickly. So let me start with our first speaker, Leah Gardner of the New School. Welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
And the next one is Andy Stone. So Andy Stone, get ready.
I'm Leah Gardner, Vice President for Design, Construction, and Facilities Management at the New School, and I thank you very much for this opportunity to speak to you about a new building being built by the university in Greenwich Village, whose explicit purpose is to be a working model and teaching tool in its own growing environmental studies program, as well as in training a workforce in green building management. The building's state-of-the-art green features have just been confirmed by the U.S. Green Building Council to warrant more than the necessary points for LEED Gold certification, within striking distance of platinum, the highest possible sustainable design level. The construction process itself, which provided 600 jobs at a time when the construction industry was underemployed, is a rare opportunity for those working at the site in clean construction practices. When the building opens in the fall of 2013, it will create more than 100 permanent jobs in innovative teaching and research, information technology management, housing, and retail. It will serve the university's 10,000 enrolled students, as well as thousands of New Yorkers who participate in our well-known continuing education programs, and the thousands more who attend numerous lectures, conferences, education programs, and other public events at the New School each year. Students from across the United States will be trained in interdisciplinary programs as planners, managers, policy analysts, and consultants in leading-edge fields of the creative economy. A newly created certificate program in high-performance building management will train the New York City's residential and commercial facility management staff for jobs to make existing buildings more environmentally responsible. The building's transformative benefits will start with our own neighborhood as a significant contribution to the Union Square downtown area. This $350 million project is funded through a combination of bond proceeds, private philanthropy, and support from New York State, the U.S. Department of Energy, and the New York City Department of Environmental Protection. The collaborative partnerships between the public and private sectors that have made this project possible will continue in many ways once it is complete. We have already initiated strong partnerships with businesses to recruit students for our educational programs and to create opportunities for its graduates to practice what they've learned for the benefit of their own communities. A significant trade union and one of the city's most important developers are working with us now, and we expect many more will follow. The New School also looks forward to establishing a productive partnership with the New York State Regional Economic Council in pursuit of goals we believe we share and which this project exemplifies. Facts about the building and its features are listed in the handout passed out earlier. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Gardner. We'll now hear from Andy Stone, the Trust for Public Land, to be followed by Mark Motzel of the Trust for Public Land as well.
We appreciate the opportunity to speak to the Council about a Queens project which we believe deserves consideration as a priority project for the Council. This project is also the subject of a proposal that will be submitted through State Parks on this round of the CFA. The project I'm referring to is called the Queensway, a proposed 3.5-mile linear park and cultural greenway. This park will reclaim a city-owned rail corridor that has been abandoned for 50 years, running through the heart of Queens, from Rego Park and Forest Hills down through Richmond Hill to Ozone Park. The 2011 Times article reports that the High Line has generated $2 billion in private investment and 12,000 jobs. New public spaces in New York City like the High Line, Hudson River Park, and Brooklyn Bridge Park are widely credited with attracting new residential and commercial development, increasing property tax revenue, and increasing the city's preeminence in the nation as a tourist destination. A new linear park in Queens, through the heart of Queens, modeled on the High Line, but also providing bicycle transit and recreational opportunities, and highlighting the extraordinary cultural diversity of Queens, has the potential to be as transformative a project as the High Line. Impact on real estate values. First of all, a recent summary of 20 studies on park impacts by John Crompton concludes that landscape parks increase the value of adjacent real estate by an average of 20%. And this impact, called the proximate principle, is the strongest within 500 feet of a park, making linear parks, which can be considered all edge, an outstanding way to increase property values. Second, promoting cultural tourism. While the Queensway is intended to serve neighborhood residents, it will also be designed to capture visitors from outside Queens and from throughout the world. It will incorporate public art as well as extensive cultural programming and culinary venues reflecting the extraordinary diversity of the borough. The impact of cultural tourism was demonstrated vividly by the installation of the gates in Central Park, which attracted 1.5 million out-of-town visitors, and which the mayor's office estimated as having an economic impact of $250 million. Further, what urban greenway project in America offers as much potential to catalyze the culinary talents of so many ethnic neighborhoods at food stands and food courts located at key nodes on the Queensway? A famous Rego Park, Queens eatery called Ben's Best attracts 80,000 diners a year for its pastrami and corned beef. Imagine the potential of a cultural greenway featuring the international foods of Queens to attract New Yorkers and tourists. Third, Queens, with its rich culture and attractive neighborhoods, offers the opportunity to compete with cities like Boston, Austin, and Portland for businesses in the technology sector. And as cited on page 20 of the Council's plan, companies and workers in this sector frequently choose locations based on the availability of dynamic neighborhoods and recreational and cultural resources. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Motzel?
Lieutenant Governor, Speaker Silver, Chairman Goldstein, and honorable members of the Regional Economic Development Council. My name is Mark Matzel, the New York State Director of the Trust for Public Land. Just to add a little to what Andy said on Queensway, it would transform this 50-year abandoned rail line, which is presently owned by the city, into an attractive bike path and linear park with fitness zones, cultural amenities, including sculpture installations and food stands that celebrate Queens' extraordinary cultural diversity. The Queensway will link the neighborhoods, as we've heard, of Rego Park and Forest Hills and Ozone Park to Queens' third largest park, Forest Park. And as importantly, the project could jumpstart tourism in this section of Queens in a very meaningful way. Tourists and New Yorkers travel a good amount of time for good food and good art. Aside from providing a contiguous venue to bike for 3.5 miles safely, the project would add value in helping to reduce obesity in our youth, and that's sort of a a battle cry that we've heard from the mayor and several agencies citywide. The Trust for Public Land has teamed up with the Friends of Queensway, which is now nearly 2,000 supporters, and the City of New York to raise funds for the feasibility phase. Several elected public officials, including the Queensborough president, the council member, state assembly member, and state senators, supported our application last autumn for an Environmental Protection Fund grant. The Queensway would be an investment in smart growth infrastructure, an investment in tourism and alternative transportation infrastructure. It engages in a cost-effective strategy for innovative collaboration between public, business, and nonprofit organizations, and would spur economic growth in Queens. In this remarkably culturally diverse community, 200,000 people live within a mile of Queensway. The neighborhood adjoining Queensway is notable for its high population of recent immigrants and is virtually devoid of public open space. Queensway is a regionally transformative project consistent with the core goals of the New York City Regional Economic Development Council strategic plan that would energize the Queens local economy and engage businesses, invigorate tourism, and arguably one of the most ethnically and culturally diverse communities on the globe. Thank you very, very much for this opportunity, and I have some handouts. Thank you.
You could leave it with one of the people there. Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Nancy Keller of the New York Genome Center, followed by Travis Terry.
Thank you very much to the New York City Regional Economic Development Council for having the New York Genome Center here this morning. The New York Genome Center is an independent nonprofit research institute whose mission is to seize global leadership in research and healthcare in genomic medicine. We have three major constituencies. First, 11 institutional founding members who are the largest academic and medical institutions in New York State. They are located in Manhattan, Long Island, and in central New York. We also have an associate member and intend to have several other associate members recruited from throughout the state. We have also attracted investment from the private sector, technology collaborator Illumina, and our first pharma member, Roche Pharmaceuticals, who will dedicate nearly $50 million in private investment to this organization. And finally, substantial investment by the philanthropic community, by New York City, and by related nonprofit entities like the New York City Investment Fund. The project that we are requesting support for is a new 168,000 genomic sequencing analysis and bioinformatics facility. It is located in Manhattan and is designed to be proximate to all of the institutional founding members. The cost for this is $47 million, designed to create labs, offices, auditorium, and collaborative meeting space for all of our technology partners and institutional founding members. We will create 500 jobs over the next 5 years. In addition, about 150 construction jobs. And we will be fully operational by the second quarter of 2013. Our goal is also to increase the amount of NIH funding that is dedicated to the academic and medical institutions that we are working with. Currently, they receive about $1.8 billion in each year. And we expect to expand local and regional private sector development as well through the creation of new spin-off companies and the licensing of technologies for development of diagnostics, therapeutics, and healthcare. We will be a powerful job creation engine. We will leverage substantial corporate, private, public, and philanthropic funding. We have raised over $110 million to date. We will enhance New York State institutions' ability to attract federal research funding. We will serve as a talent magnet, both to retain jobs that are currently existing, both for high-skilled and for those who need to be trained for jobs in the future. Thank you very much.
Ms. Kelly, can I just ask one very quick question? I think I know the answer to it. In this new informatics project that you're seeking funding for. I imagine that you're going to need a considerable number of people trained in applied mathematics and algorithmic design and things of this nature.
Absolutely.
Is that true?
Yes. So out of the 500 jobs that we'll be creating over the next 5 years, 350 of them will be in bioinformatics and applied sciences and sequencing. That means there aren't enough people in the world right now to fill this demand. And that means that we need to work closely with degree-granting institutions in New York to train professionals for these areas, but also to train employees in the lower skilled areas like laboratory technicians, sequencing technicians, and others that will be able to work in this facility.
Thank you very much. Travis Terry. And then next, David McKeon.
Thank you, Chair Goldstein, Speaker Silver, Lieutenant Governor Duffy, Deputy Mayor Steele, and distinguished members of the Regional Economic Council for giving me the opportunity to testify today in support of the proposal by the Trust for Public Land to conduct a feasibility study as a first step to building a 3.5-mile linear park in central and southern Queens called the Queensway. My name is Travis Terry, and I have the privilege of being a member of the steering committee of the Friends of the Queensway. The Friends of the Queensway was formed by residents living along the abandoned Long Island Railroad Rockaway Beach Branch in central and southern Queens, from Forest Hills and Rego Park down to Richmond Hill and Ozone Park. In just a few months, our organization has amassed well over 2,000 members, most of whom live in the borough of Queens. But we've also received extraordinary support from individuals living as far away as Thailand, Argentina, and Germany, showing a very international interest in the project. Our goal is simple: to convert the structure that held the Long Island Railroad Rockaway Beach Branch over 50 years ago, and that has been sitting as a blight on our communities, into an engine of economic, cultural, and community transformation. There are photos in here, which I will pass out later, that show the stretch of the property that we are looking at. I should note that that property is actually owned by the City of New York. And it runs by dozens of schools, residences, and commercial centers, and is currently filled with litter and is an eyesore and a safety hazard for our neighborhoods. With prudent planning involving multiple stakeholders, including all levels of government, the Friends of the Queensway is eager to get started with the Trust for Public Land to create the Queensway and turn this blight into something iconic and transformative, in the same way that the High Line has done so in Manhattan, the Promenade Plantée in Paris, and the Bloomingdale Trail, also a Trust for Public Land project, will do in Chicago. The project has many benefits, among them the creation of new park space, environmental upgrades, quality of life improvements, and the unique ability to link and celebrate the rich cultural diversity of the borough of Queens. However, perhaps the Queensway's most exciting benefit is its potential for generating new economic activity. Like the High Line in Manhattan, which according to reports has generated billions of dollars in direct and indirect economic impact and roughly 12,000 jobs, we believe the Queensway has similar potential. And here are a couple of reasons how. Parks are an economic generator. Recently, the New York Parks and Conservation Association and Business Council of New York State conducted a study entitled Greenways and Trails, Bringing Economic Benefits to New York. The study concluded that greenways and community trails bring economic vitality to New York. They attract tourists, trail-related business development, and help revitalize downtown business and retaining business. It could be a customer driver for local small businesses. Through a variety of programming and general attractiveness, we think we can attract thousands, if not millions, of visitors per year. And with the intersections in Forest Hills and in Ozone Park, where there's pockets of poverty, we think that this customer base will patronize those businesses. Finally, and with regards to cultural tourism, as mentioned before, the cultural activity generates, for every dollar in public investment, generates about $2 back in taxes and about $6 in private investment. We think we can do the same here.
Thank you very much. Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You can leave your remarks. Thank you. The next speaker is David McKeon, to be followed by Lev Shvirov.
Good morning. Thank you, Speaker Silver, Lieutenant Governor Duffy, Chair Goldstein, and other esteemed members of the Council for giving me the opportunity to testify before you. I'm David McKeon, Chief of Staff at the New York Stem Cell Foundation. I'm representing Susan Solomon, who happens to be out of the country. The New York Stem Cell Foundation is a nonprofit organization whose mission is to accelerate cures for the major diseases of our time through stem cell research. We're a fast-growing organization that, since our founding in 2005, has raised over $100 million from private donors, the New York State Stem Cell Program, and from industry, including Pfizer. Currently, we employ over 50 full-time staff, including 40 researchers at our laboratory in Morningside Heights, and we have supported over 60 scientists at institutions across the country. As a bit of background for the project I'll describe, a recent study states that developing a new drug takes on average 13 years and costs $4 billion. This is because companies use the method that tests drugs on animals such as mice or on cultured cells, neither of which reproduce the features of diseases we're actually trying to cure. But after a breakthrough in 2007, we can now create pluripotent stem cells from skin cells of people with diseases. We can then generate any of the cells in the body and then use these cells for drug discovery. One of our researchers in 2008 made a model of ALS, or Lou Gehrig's disease, in a Petri dish. This was named the 2008 #1 medical breakthrough by Time and Science magazines. Again, in 2011, a stem cell-based discovery from our laboratory was named the #1 medical breakthrough by Time magazine. But to make this into a model of discovery employed by the pharmaceutical and biotech communities, we needed to scale up and automate the work. So that's what we've developed over the past year, a new proprietary automated robotic technology that can produce thousands of stem cell lines a year. What we aim to do with additional funds is increase our ability to manufacture the cells actually needed for drug discovery and enhance our own ability to discover new drugs on these stem cell-based models. This is a transformative technology that will help spur new innovations, creating a cluster of innovation that could bring thousands of high-quality long-term jobs to New York. This is not an investment in basic research, but an investment in technologies to manufacture cells and to develop new drugs. At the moment, we collaborate extensively with scientists across the city and the state that utilize our stem cell expertise and our unique technologies. This new resources will undoubtedly be a tool employed by these New York-based scientists. And we have begun discussions with the HPC-2 supercomputing initiative, supported by NISTAR, partnering with them to enhance our ability to analyze the vast amounts of data collected by our technologies. New York City is the ideal location for this type of innovation, and it will help ensure that we are part of the rapidly growing field of regenerative medicine. Clinical trials and new therapies are readily feasible with such an established world-class hospital infrastructure, and New York will be able to better compete with cities like Boston, San Diego, San Francisco that have for years dominated the biotech industries. An investment in the New York Stem Cell Foundation is an investment in not only future cures, but also the future economic success of the city. Thank you all for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. McKeon. Lev Shvedov, to be followed by Colleen Heebmeyer.
Ms. Chairman, members of the committee, it's most appropriate to have this discussion on primary day when people around the city and the state are voting on one of the core issues, which is how do we grow our economy and how do we create jobs. I'm here to present you with an outlook that I think is positive, and this is what we are really looking to do. The City College of New York and CUNY as a whole has a tremendous record of creating industries, businesses, and jobs. From Joseph Flom of Skadden to Cy Sternberg of New York Life and Andy Grove of Intel, City College alumni have built economic engines that have withstood the test of time and continue to benefit the parent institution, our city, and have left a global imprint. Today, the task is to find an economically feasible investment in innovative, transformative, and interdisciplinary projects that can lead to local economic growth and development. It is my view that and that of my colleagues that the CUNY Energy Institute at the City College of New York is such an investment. We are working on innovative energy storing devices and energy generation technologies that will make a significant contribution to the domestic energy landscape. In the process, the Institute attracts outstanding young researchers, develops and prepares undergraduate students for careers in the fields of science and engineering, and has developed strong regional economic and academic ties throughout the state with Brookhaven National Laboratory and Con Edison as examples. Such partnerships facilitate a platform by which ideas can become products at a faster pace and result in a sustainable employment growth as profits from the various spin-offs become products and contribute to the evolution of additional research that feeds into the interests of the company and of the institution. This allows for expanded growth and development of a domestic high-tech workforce right here in New York City. It is my hope that with the investment in the CUNY Energy Institute, you will enable the local scientific infrastructure to become the driving force for economic growth that has been envisioned by Mayor Bloomberg, Governor Cuomo, and this very panel. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Shvedov. We'll next hear from Colleen Heebmeyer, And then from Major Owens.
Hello, my name is Colleen Heemeyer, and I thank the New York Regional Economic Development Council for this opportunity to speak. In my professional life, I'm the grants manager for the New York Landmarks Conservancy, and our funding is often leveraged with state Environmental Protection Fund grants to help restoration projects, specifically at historic religious properties throughout New York State. But I'm here to speak to the effects of one $500,000 Environmental Protection Fund grant pledge at St. Anne and the Holy Trinity Episcopal Church in Brooklyn. This church is a 19th century landmark in Brooklyn Heights, and we used an EPF grant pledge to replace both of our side aisle slate roofs. This allowed for continued performance and rehearsal space for 3 Brooklyn orchestras. We're a frequent filming location for television and film. And because of the additional activity brought on by a restored roof, which allowed these spaces to be used, we employ 3 part-time employees to manage filming and other performance logistics at our location. In addition, the restoration of these roofs allowed for the removal of a sidewalk bridge along Montague Street in Brooklyn Heights, improving the appearance and values along a local commercial district in this neighborhood. So I'm speaking here for an ongoing value of these EPF pledges. Later, Ann Friedman will speak to the larger benefit of this, but we would encourage that EPF pledges be allocated to religious properties because they do have an environmental and a jobs benefit for their communities. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Major Owens, former Congressman Major Owens, followed by Ann Isabel Friedman.
Thank you very much for this opportunity to speak. I previously served, before I served in Congress, 8 years in the New York State Senate and 6 years as a commissioner of a New York City Community Development Agency. I'm presently a distinguished lecturer at the Medgar Evers College Du Bois Bunch Center. Let me begin by apologizing for arriving late in this process, which is now more than a year old, I understand. On a separate track, the Medgar Evers Du Bois Bunch Center has been exploring other ways to intervene and counterattack against the marauding fiscal forces responsible for the loss of fully half of the wealth of black communities across the country since 2008. And this is true of the Central Brooklyn black community also. Our conclusion resulted in our launching of this effort, which we term the Central Brooklyn Redevelopment Project. It is certainly clear that the Regional Economic Development Council can play a major role in reversing the escalating economic catastrophe that we are confronting in Central Brooklyn. But despite my appreciation of the bold and thorough approach you are taking, I was reluctant to testify here today. The crisis in Central Brooklyn requires an emergency bailout, speedy action with a large stimulus. But it is clear that this council's strategy is focused on concrete brick-and-mortar individual shovel-ready projects. However, a more thorough reading of your announcement for today's public forum buoyed my hopes that you would bend the letter of the regulations and accept a bailout proposal. 2 of your criteria for identifying priority projects focused appropriately on this challenge, this great need for unified emergency action. Your criteria, which reads relief of conditions of economic distress, says that priority for support will therefore go to projects that provide opportunities for training and skills development and create improved opportunities for communities and individuals in conditions of economic distress. A second criteria called transformative role says that you will give priority to programs which contribute, I'm quoting from you, contribute to the resurgence of an economically distressed community and or improve the quality of life or expand opportunities for the city's lower income populations. Now, we're grateful for both of these criteria. They open the door for possible support of a comprehensive, expedited community redevelopment approach. We respectfully propose to add value to the governor's initiative by serving as a pilot program that can be replicated in similar distressed communities throughout the state. The Central Brooklyn Redevelopment Project sets forth a comprehensive and transformative blueprint for an economic jumpstart of 2 congressional districts, the 8th and the 9th. These are predominantly black districts. They are voting rights districts. At the heart of this area, the densely populated sections, the state's most persistent indices of failure are abundant. The high unemployment, high foreclosure rates, high incarceration rates, high chronic disease rates, increasing school dropout rates, and on it goes. I don't think we need to elaborate further on this well-known web of pathology and distress. The great tragedy is that the nation's economic collapse has caused all of these problems to get worse rapidly since 2008. Responding to this crisis, 99% of the Central Brooklyn elected officials pledged their support for this Central Brooklyn redevelopment project. An immediate and obvious obstacle that we face as a broad-based college and community initiative is the lack of capacity to meet the grant-seeking requirements of the Council's very complex application process. Merely to prepare the submission of an acceptable application, Central Brooklyn needs more than the spare time of 3 full-time teaching professors and their volunteer students. In order to facilitate a group's capacity to launch and oversee a transformative role, there is a need for a first-step funding of a reasonable and well-developed comprehensive concept and practical blueprint. Of greatest importance is the fact that our blueprint is not a list of worthwhile separate projects. For meaningful economic development and the rescue of community in distress, we contend that more important than the number of components is the way in which the striving components are bonded together. To swiftly further develop each component and to construct a research and development umbrella, we will be requesting the Council to liberally interpret its application requirements and fund a research, development, design, and executive education component to be staffed by the 5 colleges of the Central Brooklyn area. It is understood that in order to do this, you would first have to understand and support the funding of overall concept. The working paper for Central Brooklyn Redevelopment Project consists of 12 components. I won't go into all of them, but they include a coordinating council for job training and job placement, a community housing trust fund, a community armories development program, an enhanced one-stop business development center, etc.
Mr. Owens, you want to start finishing up, please?
I am almost through, yes. To achieve the desired redevelopment goals and emerge with a robust, self-reliant local economy, the preliminary research leads us to conclude that a period of 5 years will be needed, and the necessary New York State investment must be no less than $1 billion over this 5-year period. This is an amount that the governor has already proposed for the Buffalo area, and in the context of modern development and operations, this request for $1 billion commitment is reasonable and feasible. Consider the fact that the war in Afghanistan cost $1 billion just for 1/2 week.
Mr.
Also,
Owens, I'm sorry. We're going to have to, we've taken too much time. If you leave your written testimony and we have to go on to the next speaker, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your time.
Finally, I wanted to say Central Brooklyn is a vital organ for the total city of New York. It's too precious to fail, too important and too precious to fail.
Thank you very much. I appreciate your time. Ann Isabel Friedman to be followed by Liz Luskin.
Good morning, Chancellor. Thank you so much to the Council for this opportunity to speak. I'm not speaking to you today about an upcoming priority project, but I'm speaking to you more generally about the consolidated funding application process, and I think an inadvertent result of the scoring last year, which I know you're working to address this year. I'm Ann Isabel Friedman. I'm the director of the Sacred Sites Program for the private nonprofit New York Landmarks Conservancy. And I wanted to review a 26-year history with Environmental Protection Fund grants and EQBA grants for historic preservation. From 1986 to 2010, 1,050 New York State preservation grants were awarded, totaling $170 million. But that $170 million had a really outsized economic impact on the field of historic preservation, and particularly preservation for nonprofit-owned properties. $25 million, or nearly 15% of that total, was allocated for the restoration of historic religious properties, generating on paper a minimum of $50 million, but probably much more, like 10 times, tenfold that amount. Over the same period, our nonprofit statewide program has partnered with the state to provide matching funds for many of the same projects. Our privately raised funds have been used to award 1,200 grants totaling just $7.5 million to 680 religious institutions, landmark religious institutions around the state. Via our tracking of our projects, we know that the $7.5 million in grants, along with the state's $25 million, has generated over $530 million in construction expenditure, employing hundreds and hundreds of highly skilled restoration tradespeople throughout New York State. And I just wanted to name a couple of local recent projects, representatives of whom are here but are not speaking. I wanted to ask Esther Haimov of Congregation Tifereth Israel in Corona to stand. There, where the Conservancy is managing a hands-on project at Queens' oldest surviving synagogue. A $200,000 EPF grant led to $1.1 million in city capital funding and helped the synagogue and the Conservancy raise an additional $500,000 and counting, for a total of $1.8 million and counting in construction expenditure and jobs creation locally in Queens, including New York City capital funding mandates for local jobs creation. St. Cecilia Roman Catholic Church in El Barrio, $200,000 EPF grant, $1 million copper roof project about to begin, great, fantastic institution, housing multiple social service programs. Rugged Cross Baptist in Bed-Stuy, $250,000 EPF grant, generating a $700,000 project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Liz Luskin, followed by Dr. Karen Heller.
Good morning. I believe you all have copies of my presentation. I'm Liz Luskin. I'm the Chief of Staff and Vice President of Strategic Initiatives for NYU, the Polytechnic Institute of NYU, the 158-year-old engineering school in downtown Brooklyn. And I'm here on behalf of NYU Poly and President Hulton, who unfortunately is out of the country today. I'm proud to present to you our proposal for Acre 2.0. Acre is an accelerator for a clean and renewable economy, and it's a public-private partnership led by NYU Poly, including an incubator and proof-of-concept centers. It helps to rapidly grow successful job-creating companies in the rapidly expanding green tech sector, which includes energy efficiency, smart grid, water and waste technologies, transportation, logistics, and renewable energies. It will bring job growth and technology innovation to a high-impact area of the state and deliver on each of the 11 RADC criteria for identifying priority projects and the 4 pillars of the strategic plan. It's a modest project requiring capital investment of $1 million, but it will be a catalytic investment both in jobs and economic activity. Why green tech? Green tech is the next great economic sector for New York. It's been growing steadily at a rate of about 5% over the last 10 years. And the overall investment is about, let's say, $80 million a year in New York, but that is dwarfed by what is spent in Massachusetts, roughly $500 million, California, over $3 billion. So there's great potential. State and local policies are driving demand. The state's 15 by 15 goal and the Plan YC 30% reduction in carbon emissions, as well as business demand by utilities and others for greater energy efficiency. And New York City is the ideal test bed for IT-driven green tech applications, and a number of the companies that we've already spawned are taking care of that. And our Acre project is poised to grow with the New York City market. We're building off a successful model. We have a waiting list of companies, and we're going to expand the services to increase economic growth. So why Acre? The current Acre is a 3-year-old project that was funded by a NYSERDA grant that is an incubator, including access to customers, capital, business services, expertise, and talent with partnerships through key industry players in academia, which I'll discuss later. We're the most successful green tech of the NYSERDA green tech incubators and the only green tech incubator in New York City. Since 2009, we've created over 100 jobs, and there's been $17 million in capital raised. Our new Acre 2.0 will move this successful project to Brooklyn and expand the services and have a better connection with NYU Poly and the academic resources there. We believe that with this investment, we can create over 500 jobs, including other jobs at all levels of the economy, and raise more than $50 million in capital by 2015. In my presentation, as I said, I go through how we hit each of the criteria here with strong business partnerships, interregional cooperation, leveraging investment to create jobs, and growing jobs not just in New York City, but across the state as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Dr. Heller, followed by Valerio De Angelis.
Thank you for the opportunity to present the Cornell Medical Technology Innovation Center. I'm Dr. Karen Heller, Associate Dean for Intercampus and Industry Initiatives at Weill Cornell Medical College. The main goal of this Cornell Center is to develop novel medical devices which can be spun out as startup companies to increase New York's stake in the $100 billion U.S. medical device industry. The center will include 2 complementary medical device prototyping laboratories, one in New York City at Weill Cornell and one at the Cornell Ithaca campus, connected electronically to facilitate collaborative device development between the clinicians and engineers. We are requesting capital funding of $2 million to support space renovation, office equipment, and prototyping software and prototyping machines for both sites. The center aligns strongly with the Council's criteria for special project consideration, that is, interregional cooperation and partnerships between business and academic institutions. Regarding interregional cooperation, innovative device development will take place on both the upstate and New York City Cornell campuses, and so leverage resources of both regions, including Cornell faculty and facilities, financing and incubators, partnering with other educational institutions to develop relevant training programs, and creating job growth through device manufacturing. The center builds on the innovative research and expertise of Cornell's highly ranked medical and engineering colleges and will synergize with the Cornell New York City Tech Campus. Regarding academic industry partnering, the center is collaborating with an experienced New York City investor to set up a dedicated investment fund of more than $100 million to spin out startup companies. Cornell is establishing an external review committee of industry executives to advise on the commercial attractiveness of ideas for startup companies and to mentor faculty. Additionally, the center has generated enthusiasm from other New York State investors and medical device companies. These efforts will create a robust and self-perpetuating entrepreneurial network. The center also aligns well with the other regional council criteria for identifying priority projects. Regarding feasibility and leveraging, Cornell has already initiated the space planning for both sites and so is ready to commence the project as soon as funding is approved. Cornell will provide in-kind resources of administrative and teaching support and faculty contribution of ideas and prototype development. Additionally, the dedicated investment fund should pay Cornell an operating fee for most of the region's operating costs. Regarding measurable impact and job creation, the center should be transformative by building a medical device industry cluster in both regions. Cornell estimates an average funding investment of approximately 800,000 commercially viable ideas to go from idea eventually to regulatory approval, and we estimate 25 commercially viable ideas over the first 5 years, or $20 million in outside investment funding. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Valerio De Angelis.
I'd like to thank the members of the Council for their very important work and for the opportunity to speak today. My name is Valerio De Angelis. I'm the Executive Director of the CUNY Energy Institute, located in the City College of New York. I will briefly discuss the development of electric energy storage technology, very large batteries, taking place in the CUNY Energy Institute since 2008 under the leadership of Professor Sanjoy Banerjee. The Institute has received over $8 million in grants for the battery program by federal entities like ARPA-E and DOE, state entities like NYSERDA, and utilities like Consolidated Edison, and has created already 26 high-paying engineering and researcher jobs with an average salary of $70,000 a year. The Institute also maintains R&D partnerships with Brookhaven National Lab and relationships with the energy storage industry through New York BEST, a consortium of builders and users of energy storage technology based in Albany, of which Professor Banerjee is a board member. The CUNY Energy Institute has developed flow-assisted zinc-nickel batteries that have 5 times the cycle life of a lead acid at the same cost, and is developing a zinc manganese battery that has twice the cycle life of a lead acid for 1/3 of the cost. The CUNY Energy Institute is licensing the technology to Urban Electric Power, a New York-based company that will commercialize systems starting from 2013. The battery technology has several applications, some behind the meter and some at the utility level. To put it in the words of Frederick Coppersmith, the director of R&D at Consolidated Edison, the energy storage systems of the CUNY Energy Institute present a promising set of opportunities over a broad range of applications, many of which relate to our core interest. We support UEP's effort to manufacture systems to decrease network congestion and to defer T&D upgrades, while creating manufacturing and highly skilled jobs in New York City. We look forward to working with the Energy Institute and UEP to support the installation of their systems. The CUNY Energy Institute has recently built a 50 kilowatt-hour grid-connected demonstration of the batteries for peak shaving applications in collaboration with Consolidated Edison, NYPA, and Princeton Power Systems, and plans a 200 kilowatt-hour demonstration in 2013. The Institute will continue to work with Urban Electric Power to facilitate the commercialization of the technology and the build-up of manufacturing in New York City and in the state. I'll be happy to answer any question you may have, and like to thank you again for the attention today.
Thank you very much. Michael Hurwitz, followed by Stephen Smith.
Good morning. I want to thank the council for giving me the opportunity to present today on behalf of the hundreds of mid-sized farmers desperate to get their products into New York City and to the New York City communities that want improved access to them. I'm Michael Hurwitz. I'm the program director of Green Market, a program of the not-for-profit organization Grow NYC. We have a 36-year history of operating retail farmers markets, generating hundreds of millions of dollars annually for the New York State economy and the region beyond. And while 85% of our farmers would be out of business without the opportunity to sell directly to New York City customers, we recognize that retail outlets are insufficient and inadequate to meet the demands of the needs of the mid-sized grower and the demand of New York City. We are proposing a different model, a food hub, downstate infrastructure that's dedicated for New York State agriculture products, and with a public interest broker downstate making connections for farmers and ensuring that their products are available in all neighborhoods. There are plenty of distributors operating in New York City today, but none work with the farmer's interest at the forefront of their operation and with the goal of serving all New York communities. Ours is a project that will impact every county in New York State, from the far west region of Ontario County to our friends in Suffolk County out east. We're going to create hundreds and retain hundreds of jobs in decimated rural communities upstate and throughout the 5 boroughs, and specifically in the South Bronx. We're actually in conversations with Hostos Community College to create job training programs around food handling and food access. Recently, we've seen an explosion in small-scale food processors. These food processors should be buying their products from New York State farmers. What we're not asking for is a subsidy. We want an investment in New York State agriculture. We have secured our operational budget through the private sector, and I applaud the recent studies to determine how to bring New York State agriculture products into the city, and particularly to underserved areas. We at Grow NYC have been doing this for years and are currently moving New York State products through our food box program, our Bodega initiatives. Every week, one of our trucks is going to Gramercy Tavern and the other restaurants just like it, and also to associated supermarkets and the retailers that surround it in the Brownsville section of Brooklyn. There is such potential to scale up our work, and with a minimum investment, can have such an important impact on the economic and physical health of our state and our city. Again, I thank you for this opportunity, and with that, I'll turn it over to Stephen Smith, President of Oak Point Properties.
Welcome, Mr. Smith.
Good morning. Thank you for inviting me. We're here to apply for Empire State Development Corporation funding. The project was a brainchild of Grow NYC and Paul Lipson, former Chief of Staff to Congressman Serrano. The property is a 28-acre property in the South Bronx. It has been developed, it has been cleaned, utilities have been brought to the site. We've concluded a $7 million environmental remediation. We've brought in $5 million of utilities to the property. We are in the process of building a 3-acre, $8 million wildlife reserve, and we've paid about $4 million in New York City and New York State taxes. We've subdivided the property in a tax lot. We've created Jetro Restaurant Depot on 12 acres of the property, which is a $60 million new construction, about 300 jobs. We now have about 15 acres of the property left, and we're trying to build what we call the Oak Point Fresh Food Campus. This is a vehicle for getting food from New York State to the people of the Bronx and the other boroughs who desperately need good, healthy foods. The premise of the project is to create an optimum and efficient link between New York State regions and downstate markets, and vice versa, actually, and create a home for the New York State food suppliers. The project will create about 500 industrial jobs in food manufacturing and distribution. It'll provide distribution channels for locally grown, fresh food in the markets in both downstate and upstate, utilizing the backhauls. And it creates and really strengthens the linkage between New York State agriculture, New York State markets, and downstate downstate markets. We've been able to bootstrap this project for the last 7 years. We've done a massive cleanup, transforming a property which was once considered to be the largest illegal landfill in New York State. We've done everything utilizing tenants, rental income, and really transformed this property. It's a beautiful property. It's sited on the East River, adjacent to North Brother and South Brother Island. And it's an ideal location in the Hunts Point community for this food hub. We ask for your help in getting it over the final goal line. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Lisa Frankel is next, followed by Raphael Tesler.
Good morning. My name is Lisa Frankel. I'm here on behalf of the nonprofit Park Avenue Armory, and thank you so much for inviting us to present this morning. The Armory is a state-owned National Historic Landmark as well as a city landmark, and is on the state and national historic registers. It contains what has been called the most important collection of 19th century interiors in one building by designers such as Louis Comfort Tiffany, Stanford White, the Herter Brothers. And we also have a 55,000 square foot, 80-foot high drill hall that occupies the entire city block between Park and Lexington Avenues. But the building fell into hard times in the 20th century, and so much so that in 2000 we were listed on the World Monuments Fund National 100 Most Endangered Sites in the World, alongside Angkor Wat and Machu Picchu. In response to the situation, the state created a public-private partnership between your organization, ESD, and the Park Avenue Armory to manage and operate the facility. We've been managing the building for now over 5 years, and in that time we've transformed it into a non-traditional center for visual and performing arts that the New York Times recently called the most important new cultural institution in New York. So we're very proud of that, and we want to continue to be making progress. The Armory recently engaged a new artistic director named Alex Poots, who was the founder of the acclaimed Manchester International Festival. He's currently working on programming 2013 for us, and it will include a range of works from both local and international artists that working with other international institutions that do work that can't be produced in a traditional museum or cultural center or performing arts center in New York, which is what makes our institution so special. We also, since taking over the building, we've completed $85 million worth of capital improvements, catching up on decades of deferred maintenance. The building was in terrible shape when we took it over. Most of the work to date has been done on infrastructure projects, with only 3 of the significant 18 historic interiors restored to date or in process. The total budget for our master plan renovation is $200 million, so we're just under halfway there. We're at the point where we must complete our largest mechanical, electrical, and plumbing project to date in order to finish the restoration of our interiors and fully function as a new cultural institution. The project includes the installation of an HVAC plant on our 5th floor gymnasium space and the connection of new distribution cores for ductwork and other services. This $28 million project will allow us to then work with private donors and interested in the restoration of the rooms and ready to invest their private money into this public landmark. It will also allow us to expand into a new 32,000 square foot gallery space, substantially adding programming, jobs, and generating more visitor trips to New York. In addition, this project will transform a century-old mechanical system into a modern, code-compliant, efficient systems, going from window units to a centralized air conditioning plant. Thank you for your consideration. We hope you'll support this state-owned building.
Thank you, Ms. Frankel. Raphael Tesler?
Actually, Anwar Rizvi instead of Raphael, representing NCM USA. As I said, my name is Anwar Rizvi. Honorable Chair and the council members, thank you for inviting us. I'm pleased to announce that NCM has opened up a pharmaceutical manufacturing located in Bronx, and some of your council members have visited, and they were very surprised to see a state-of-the-art biotech company just started operating out of Bronx. We are currently manufacturing 3 pharmaceuticals there, focused in the area of detecting cancer, brain disorders, and heart disease. We have planned to add up to about 8 to 10 new pharmaceuticals at these facilities, and that's the area we'll be requesting some additional help from the regional economic development. We are pleased to also report that we are actively hiring local scientists for our facilities, and the positions include pharmacists, engineers, physicists, biochemists, and all the professions that go into running a pharmaceutical facility. As of today, we are servicing many of the local hospitals and diagnostic centers in meeting their growing demands for these very special pharmaceuticals that are in short supply in all over U.S. We have chosen New York to be our first market, since this is the largest healthcare market in the United States. As I said, we are here to request for some help from the council as we expand our operation to add new products, along with some research activity that we are starting. We have just signed a research agreement with Roche Pharmaceutical to develop a prostate imaging agent to detect prostate cancer at very early stages. So all this excitement is happening here in Bronx, and we thank you for inviting us.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from Lisa Kent, followed by Joshua Winter. We have a cluster from NYC EDC.
Good morning. I have a handout if I can quickly give to everyone. Good morning. Thank you for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Joshua Winter, and I'm with the New York City Economic Development Corporation. The lack of income mobility has grown to epic proportions, and sadly, nowhere is this more evident than in New York and New York City. The alarming trend is only increasing, and as you know, has broad implications to our economy and our region. Over the past year, we at the New York City Economic Development Corporation and the city have worked to understand why this is so and who is most affected by this growing trend. What we found in many ways is implicit to most. The economy has become barbelled, with growth at both ends of the spectrum, but with fewer and fewer opportunities to move between the extremes. This has resulted in many mid-skill individuals, those with at least a high school education but less than a 4-year college degree, being underemployed in low-wage, low-skilled jobs. Moreover, those in low-wage jobs have fewer and fewer escalators to move from one income level to another, and as a result, often become detached from the labor market. What we have learned in conversations with experts, community providers, and those we seek to assist is that traditional programs do not always meet their needs. For this reason, we have been working to develop a suite of initiatives to address many of the barriers we have found. These include the lack of access to jobs, the skills needed to link to growth sectors, and most importantly, how to increase job creation in areas of most need. To that last point, many individuals, for a variety of reasons, are not always looking for a traditional job and have aspirations, as most Americans do, to start their own enterprises, but often lack the same access to resources. Thus, we will be launching Lift Entrepreneurship, low-income, fast-tracked entrepreneurship. We plan to target the first investments in Upper Manhattan and the Bronx. This program will establish physical incubator spaces in distressed neighborhoods, but more than that, it will provide needed resources to help ensure that these entrepreneurs are well positioned to have a greater opportunity for success. We will provide direct, customized, one-on-one technical assistance, access to much-needed capital to operationalize these businesses, as well as connections to customers in the form of anchor institutions, universities, hospitals, and government. These anchors are often proximate to their geographies we are targeting. In our initial conversations with them, it is clear that the direct and indirect benefits from this investment is high. We expect through our investment in a one-to-one match, we will be able to open 2 incubators in the first year, serve over 60 entrepreneurs, create over 40 jobs. As I close, let me conclude by saying this. Although income disparity is growing, we have here a model that can demonstrate a new approach to addressing the issue, but more importantly, the model is replicable and could have lasting impact not only in the city, but the broader region and state. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Mr. Winter. Lisa Kent, followed by Tracy Massey.
Hi, and thank you for having us here today. My name is Tracy Masson. I'm from the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Last Thursday, New York City's Deputy Mayor for Economic Development, Robert Steele, announced a set of 5 initiatives around New York City's broadband infrastructure to help ensure the city and the region's continued competitiveness in the tech sector. One of the initiatives is Connect NYC, a program designed to help mitigate issues that prevent commercial buildings from being connected to high-speed broadband infrastructure. One of the challenges that exists in this regard is that New York City still has a number of digital deserts, neighborhoods where modern telecom networks don't exist in the local streets and avenues. These digital deserts are primarily located in the city's industrial business zones, or IBZs. High-speed broadband, and in particular, fiber-based internet networks are becoming increasingly important for all types of businesses, from the tech startup uploading data constantly, to the warehouse tracking inventory and online orders, to manufacturers managing progress in real time. The demands for high-speed broadband will only continue to grow as demands for access to data networks such as these continue to increase. But small businesses located in IBZs are being asked to fund the build-out of networks typically provided by internet service providers in denser areas of the city, such as Manhattan or downtown Brooklyn. These costs can run into the tens of thousands of dollars, if not more, costs which are astronomical for any small business. For example, 2 businesses in the Red Hook Sunset Park Industrial Business Zone were asked to pay $25,000 and $100,000 respectively to pull wiring to their buildings earlier this year. One of those buildings is still using a dial-up modem today. These are examples of the industrial businesses whose growth is extremely important for the creation of mid-skill job opportunities. Non-college graduates comprise 70% of the industrial workforce at middle-income wages, compared to 60% of the overall private sector workforce. One aspect of the Connect NYC program is that over the next 2 years, the city, partnering with internet service providers, will fund the build-out of fiber networks in neighborhoods where the internet service providers otherwise would have required businesses to fund the cost of wiring themselves. By using a competition mechanism, the city plans for small and medium businesses with 100 or fewer employees to apply and identify what the impact of the increased connectivity will have in terms of revenue, jobs, and productivity. In partnership with the internet service providers, the city already has $3 million of funds targeted to IBZ network build-out. By expanding Connect NYC's focus on IBZs by another $10 million in partnership with the New York City Regional Economic Development Council for a total pool of $13 million targeted to funding IBZ fiber network build-outs, the program can expect to bring wiring to up to 260 buildings, about 5% of the buildings currently in the IBZs today. The program would create almost 80 construction jobs and would benefit not only the winning businesses, but would significantly lower the cost of build-out for businesses located nearby, by bringing the network closer. Recently, the Center for an Urban Future published a report emphasizing New York City's strength as a center of innovation and as literally the nation's second leading hub for technology businesses. The report emphasizes the need for stronger and modernized broadband infrastructure in New York City, particularly in industrial and former industrial neighborhoods, as key to New York City's continued growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Daniel Zarilli.
Good morning. Thanks for your time today. My name is Dan Zarilli. I'm with the New York City Economic Development Corporation. I'm in the Asset Management Division, where we're charged with leveraging our existing infrastructure real estate assets to develop economic growth. I'm here today to discuss a targeted economic development project on Staten Island. The Arlington Yard is a 9-acre rail yard adjacent to New York Container Terminal. This rail yard services the New York Container Terminal as well as the Department of Sanitation for the City of New York, and it has spare capacity. What we've learned is that there is market demand for an additional rail move into New York City that could support economic growth. That rail move is grain exports coming from the Midwest and being loaded into containers for export through the New York Container Terminal. There is no large facility to meet this demand in the Port of New York, and it is a growing market segment. The ultimate request here is a $6 million request respectfully made to the ESD to construct the infrastructure on site to enable this transfer and to support this market demand, and ultimately incentivize this type of facility to locate in New York City and not in another competing port. We are planning an RFP process to select a private sector operator and participate in this project. And this project we feel would incentivize further investment by this operator in New York City. We're looking at a construction job estimate of about 25 and a long-term job estimate of 20 good-paying manufacturing and distribution jobs. And what we see is that this really leverages our existing infrastructure assets to promote export-driven economic growth on Staten Island. It supports New York Container Terminal and incentivizes private investment. Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Javier David.
Hello and good morning. Thank you to the committee for its time and the opportunity to speak this morning. Someone who prides himself on brevity. I promise not to exceed the balance of the time available to me. I appear before you as a privileged member of the Mount Lebanon Baptist Church Board of Trustees, which is located in Bedford-Stuyvesant, Brooklyn. We just recently celebrated our 107th year, and the church is a past recipient of preservation grants worth a combined $275,000. So I'm before you to address some of the issues related to scoring and criteria, which I believe several other members of the public alluded to earlier. I think while no one argues that job creation in New York State is of paramount importance, I, as well as several of the other officers and parishioners in Mount Lebanon, would certainly urge the committee not to lose sight of religious institutions and other landmarks around the city, many of which have in the past availed themselves to a number of these grants and are in need of substantial support for restoration and rebuilding projects such as ours. Several years ago, our church, which is in the Landmark District in Bedford-Stuyvesant, was the recipient of historic preservation grants that helped us to defray the costs of a roof restoration project by more than 20%, which is not an inconsiderable sum when you're talking about a project budget that had exceeded at the outset $1.2 million. So we have approximately 850 members in our congregation who have benefited substantially and tremendously from this project, and the community surrounding is much better off because of the generosity of these grants and through the awarding of others like it. So please know that our church, just like most around the city and state, and are not only sort of places of worship, but a vital hub of activity within the community and a resource therein. The building in which we are located has been referred to as exceptionally handsome by authorities who know much better about this stuff than I do, so I won't bore you with that. It's a Romanesque revival architecture. And it's, again, I mentioned that we have about 850 members, and every day of the week, pretty much something is going on in that building. The roof project was very, very important to us because the roof had begun to leak and had some issues. So it was very important to us to get it fixed, and these funds were of critical importance to us. So having said all of that, I again entreat the committee to sort of keep these things in mind going forward. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Andrew Ginn.
Thank you. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Andrew Ginn. I am a Senior Vice President at the Economic Development Corporation. I'm here to talk about a proposal related to creating a mitigation bank in New York City for private and public developments. New York City, as many of you know, is one of the world's greatest coastal cities. We're ringed by over 520 miles of shoreline, and the city's waterfronts support a diverse array of activities ranging from the transportation of people and goods, vibrant residential and commercial neighborhoods, recreational open space, as well as productive natural resources. And throughout our history, there's been an intrinsic linkage between economic development and environmental well-being in the city along its waterfront. New York is still the largest port on the east coast of the United States. It's also a highly diverse, ecologically diverse estuary that's a essential fish habitat. And over the course of its history, the impact of development has had impacts on the natural resources of the city. And this relationship creates a tension between development along the waterfront and the protection of natural resources. And without a clear process, which unfortunately is the case today, important projects often get stalled in the review process. Typically, it takes 3.5 years for a major development to go through the environmental review permitting process. And the cost of mitigating a project can range anywhere from $500,000 to up to $2 million per acre. And the purpose of our regional council ask is to take a dramatic step towards addressing this, to make projects along the waterfront easier to permit and get into the ground. What is a mitigation bank? These are banks that are created when developers purchase credits from a third-party sponsor, which could be an agency or a nonprofit organization that has already restored wetlands. So when you buy into the bank, you're essentially providing the underpinning to maintain an ecological resource. And I want to point out that establishing a bank does not weaken in any way or reduce environmental impact burdens, but creates more efficient methods of addressing impacts. These are normal. The mitigation banking system is the preferred method of the Army Corps of Engineers and the US EPA, and 25 states have banks already. So what we're asking is $10 million to seed the first bank, literally create the seeds for the first bank in New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, Tom McKnight, followed by David Friedman.
Good morning. I'm Tom McKnight, Executive Vice President for the New York City Economic Development Corporation. Thanks for the opportunity to present before the Council. I'm going to speak to you about two proposed funding requests, both related to the acquisition and redevelopment of pivotal properties located in outer borough business districts, one located in Coney Island and the second located in Jamaica. I'll start with Coney Island. We are proposing for the acquisition and redevelopment of the historic Shore Theater on Surf Avenue in Coney Island. The Shore Theater is an iconic and highly visible landmark at the center of Coney Island. It has great untapped potential to enhance the experience of the district and attract new private investment to the area. Unfortunately, it has been closed and inoperative for several decades. Our proposal would be to acquire the Shore Theater with the requested funds, prepare an RFP for development, which would include the potential for the creation of a new performance venue within the Shore Theater, as well as other complementary uses. Redevelopment would also leverage the building's other unique assets, including unparalleled ocean views, grand architecture, and a strategic position at the center of the Coney Island Amusement District. We believe that the redevelopment of the Shore Theater would be a major boost for the area's revitalization and would build upon the over $200 million to date in city investment that has occurred in Coney Island. The request here is for approximately $10 to $12 million to enable the acquisition of the historic theater to begin the process for redevelopment. We believe that in terms of job creation, the project could yield approximately 350 construction jobs and about 60 permanent jobs. In terms of a timeline, we believe that this project, with the funds in place, could begin immediately. The second proposal relates to downtown Jamaica. Similarly, an outer borough district that has seen significant public investment. We believe that the redevelopment of this pivotal lot could be the piece that allows for additional redevelopment to occur within downtown Jamaica. This strategic parcel, as I mentioned, we think would jumpstart high-density transit-oriented growth around the station area and would be the transformative project coming out of the 2007 rezoning for the area. This site, approximately 60,000 square feet, located directly across from the air trade terminal, is a pivotal redevelopment site. The privately owned property was identified as a blighting presence due to the derelict industrial building located on the site. Subsequently, EDC invested $4 million in demolishing the property. It is now a vacant site ready for redevelopment. As with Coney Island, we think the redevelopment of this site could be catalytic, spurring private investment in the station area for such uses as hotel, retail, and office. This potential investment, which we're requesting approximately 15 to 20 million, would build upon $80 million in federal and city support and investment that's already occurred in the district. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next speaker will be David Friedman, followed by Sabrina Terry.
Good morning. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. My name is David Friedman, and I'm the Director of Real Estate for Montefiore Medical Center. I'm here today to present to you our proposed new construction project, which will result in capital investment in the Bronx of approximately $190 million and create 667 net new direct jobs in the Bronx. Before addressing the detail of the project, I would like to provide some background information on MMC. Montefiore is ranked among the top hospitals nationally and regionally by the U.S. News & World Report. As the academic medical center and university hospital for Albert Einstein College of Medicine, Montefiore Medical Center is nationally recognized for clinical excellence, breaking new ground in research, training the next generation of healthcare leaders, and delivering science-driven, patient-centered care. Montefiore has a deep commitment to its community in the Bronx, providing its nationally renowned expertise to reach people in locations easiest for them. Our freestanding centers, such as the one we planned for Hutchinson Metro Center, support and enhance these programs. Currently, Montefiore owns or leases approximately 3.5 million square feet of campus facility space in the Bronx, including 600,000 square feet of residential facilities. In addition, the organization also owns or leases an additional 305,000 square feet of property in Yonkers and other parts of Westchester. Montefiore is undertaking a series of real estate transactions in an effort to both meet the demand for our services as well as provide state-of-the-art medical care and facilities for our patients and the communities we serve. Our ability to undertake this expansion is greatly enhanced if we can work with private developers on these projects, as we are doing in this project. The developer, Hutch Tower 2 LLC, will construct a new 280,000 square foot Class A ambulatory clinical space that will provide a cutting-edge surgical venue with 12 operating rooms and 4 procedure rooms. There will be high-end imaging services co-located with primary and specialty medical care physicians' practices. MMC would take a lease of the project for a 16-year initial term with options to renew. The project cost is approximately $190 million, consisting of approximately $65 million in the developer's cost for the building construction and approximately $123 million for our costs for tenant improvements at $73 million and furniture, fixtures, and equipment at $49 million. Both the developer and the hospital have made application for public assistance to the New York City Economic Development Corporation Build New York City program and anticipate approval in July. Additional assistance is requested by Montefiore through your regional council campaign capital fund program to enable project feasibility. In summary, the project will result in nearly $190 million of capital investment, the creation of over 1,300 construction employment in person years, the creation of 667 net new direct jobs at the facility, and a total of 1,700 jobs overall, resulting annual total economic input is $300 million. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you very much. Next, Sabrina Terry, and she'll be followed by Andrew Kimball.
Good morning, and thank you for the opportunity to testify before you today. My name is Sabrina Terry. I'm the Transportation Justice Coordinator at UPROSE. We are an environmental justice organization that mobilizes Sunset Park community residents around issues of sustainable and just development. Sunset Park is a waterfront community. It is one of the 6 significant maritime industrial areas designated by New York City Department of City Planning. This designation attests to the fact that Sunset Park harbors significantly more industries within its boundaries than the surrounding neighborhoods. And although the waterfront industries are our largest employers, accessing those jobs continues to be a challenge for Sunset Park residents. Currently, traveling to the waterfront requires crossing 2 default highways, 3rd and 4th Avenues, and walking along minimal sidewalks that are lined with several loading docks. In Sunset Park, there was a 197A plan that listed waterfront access as a key priority. There was also a community-based transportation study that also listed safe connections as a priority. And even the most recent draft of the Brooklyn Greenway listed east to west connections as a component of waterfront access in the area. And when we sat down with local businesses as a part of our Community Acting to Renew the Environment, an EPA grant that we administer, they shared their difficulty attracting and maintaining employees because of the desolate nature of the waterfront and its minimal access. So to address community and industry needs, I'm here to share a proposal for an east to west pedestrian connection project on 43rd Street and Sunset Park. As the largest walk-to-work community in New York City, the connection will safely guide upland residents and workers to the waterfront while providing linkage to the Brooklyn Greenway, a borough-wide transportation project, and Bush Terminal, a future green tech industry cluster and park. By ensuring improved access, the pedestrian connection project will provide critical support to a thriving and expanding industrial area. There's also an opportunity to incorporate green infrastructure along the corridor to address flooding and storm surges that continue to be a risk in the area. Upon completion, the 43rd Street Pedestrian Connection Project will serve as a model of connectivity in areas segregated by land use and topography. We believe our 43rd Street Pedestrian Connection Project is more than a local initiative. It supports the REDC goals and will have a catalytic impact on our region by way of our waterfront. The proposed public amenities will play a transformative role in creating an ideal environment for not only existing businesses, but also attracting new businesses that could further serve our regional needs. By incorporating green infrastructure, the Pedestrian Connection Project will produce quantifiable sustainability benefits such as reductions in CSO volumes, cleaning the air, and cooling the city. It would also generate jobs via design, construction, and maintenance. In conclusion, we urge you to sincerely consider our project as it will help transform the Sunset Park waterfront into becoming a 21st century model of a green port, in addition to creating a more sustainable region. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Andrew Kimball, and he'll be followed by Dan Walsh.
Good morning, Lieutenant Governor and members of the council. Thank you for the opportunity to present on a project that we believe should be a priority for the state and the city that will have a transformative regional impact. We have a unique opportunity to partner with Steiner Studios to create a 50-acre media campus at the Brooklyn Navy Yard. A $37.5 million public capital investment in infrastructure, $17.5 million from the state, $17.5 million from the city, $2.5 million from the federal government will leverage $346 million of private investment, a better than 9-to-1 private to public leverage ratio that'll create thousands of new jobs. Here are the impacts. 2,500 direct jobs, 1,500 indirect jobs, 2,600 construction jobs, permanent jobs that are good-paying 21st century manufacturing jobs, many of them union production jobs, many of them media technology jobs. Over 300,000 square feet of new space for academic partners and media companies in 9 historic structures and 5 buildings. According to a recent study by the Center for the Urban Future, New York City is now one of the nation's fastest growing tech sectors in the U.S., but space for these companies, particularly in Brooklyn, is much in demand. Over 100,000 square feet of new stages to meet the critical demand for space to shoot TV shows and commercials. The city's TV, Film, and Media Commissioner recently described the dearth of space as a crisis. The creation of the first New York City outdoor streetscape backlot. This backlot will not only fuel further growth of content creation in New York, but will add a major tourism destination while significantly easing disruption of quintessential neighborhoods which are heavily used for film and television shoots. We believe this is the right moment to move forward aggressively on this project. First, we have a development partner in Steiner Studios who's repeatedly demonstrated its vision and commitment to investing in TV, film, and media, and has a track record of creating jobs, lots of jobs. To date, Steiner has invested nearly $200 million in stages and ancillary entertainment and media space in the Navy Yard and has created over 1,000 jobs and is currently completing construction work that will create another 1,200 jobs. Steiner's developed important partnerships with graduate-level schools that will result in the next generation of film and media entrepreneurs. These partnerships include the creation of the city's first public film school, Brooklyn College Graduate School of Cinema, in a facility at the studios now under construction. For several years, Long Island University's graduate screenwriting program has been present at the studios. Discussions are well underway to bring Carnegie Mellon's University's Advanced Digital Laboratory to the media campus. Further graduate-level partnerships focused on upstate schools are in the works. Second, we have leadership at the state and the city that understand the importance of these sectors. And third, at the Brooklyn Navy Yard, we have a unique opportunity. We have the space that's unique, that you could not replicate elsewhere, with security and a historic setting to create this kind of development. Thank you very much for your consideration.
Andrew, thank you very much. Next, Dan Walsh, and he'll be followed by Ray Kennard.
Good morning. I'd like to thank the Council for the opportunity to speak this morning. My name is Daniel Walsh. I'm the Director of the New York City Mayor's Office of Environmental Remediation. We seek $2 million to provide direct grants to fund environmental cleanup of 60 to 70 vacant brownfield properties in low-income communities in New York City. We estimate that cleanup will enable over 4 million square feet of new development on currently vacant brownfield properties and generate about 3,500 permanent new jobs over the next 2 years. Cleanups will be administered under the New York City Brownfield Cleanup Program. This is the first city-run cleanup program in the nation. It was established under Plan YC in collaboration with State DEC. We've been operating for a little more than a year now, and we have approved brownfield cleanup plans on over 45 properties. Those projects will enable more than $1.5 billion in new development on properties that have been vacant on average for 16 years. 70% of the projects in our program are in traditionally low-income communities, places like Harlem, Washington Heights, the South Bronx, North and Central Brooklyn, and the North Shore of Staten Island. All told, the 45 projects had a combined 9 jobs. The cleanups will enable new development that will produce 2,100 permanent new jobs. The New York City Brownfield Cleanup Program is one of the great unheralded success stories of Plan YC, and we're looking for your support to accelerate our work in low-income communities. So in addition to the profound societal benefits that the program will engender, let me conclude with several reasons why it's a good investment for New York State. The 60 projects that we'll fund will return over $2 billion in new development investment in low-income communities in New York City. We have modeled the tax return on our projects, and we estimate $450 million in combined new tax revenue to the city and the state for these projects, with $90 million of that revenue generated over the next 5 years. Every state dollar will be leveraged with $5 of combined city and federal funding. And grant delivery can begin immediately. There'll be no delays because we can use an existing grant delivery program. And finally, money will be invested in the highest quality cleanups under an agreement with New York State DEC. Liability protection will be provided to all these projects by both the city and the state of New York. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next, Ray Kennard. He'll be followed by Ejuke Su.
Thank you. My name is Ray Kennard. I'm the Executive Director of the Northeast Transportation and Electrification Alliance. And our purpose is to see that diesel fuel commercial fleet vehicles are replaced by battery electric serviced system fleet vehicles. And the biggest source of, or the biggest use of these types of vehicles are to move the merchandise in and out of Port Authority. At the Port Authority, cargo containers that contain all the goods and materials required by manufacturing and society in New York City are brought in most cases, in 30-ton containers. Heavy-duty yard tractors move these containers out of ships and put them on drayage trucks. And heavy-duty drayage trucks move this merchandise to local distribution centers, warehouses, and the like, where the cargo contents are removed and placed on medium-duty trucks, which deliver it to the ultimate destination. All these trucks, and there are thousands of them, are all fueled by diesel fuel. Diesel fuel has been the subject of a lot of work that the American Lung Association has done to demonstrate that diesel fumes are carcinogenous and have adverse health impact. Last month, the World Health Organization issued a report on the subject of diesel fuel fumes causing cancer, and drew the unanimous result that is indeed the case. What is happening is that battery electric service systems for these types of vehicles are now available. On the handout, you will see a photograph of a drayage truck that's at the port of Los Angeles, and a yard tractor which is at a terminal in Texas. The commercial fleet that serves the New York City area consists of about 18,000 drayage trucks at the Port Authority and 600 yard tractors. These vehicles consume between 5,000 and 10,000 gallons of diesel fuel every year. Tens of thousands of medium-duty trucks also consume large quantities of diesel fuel, usually about 1,000 to 2,000 gallons per year. Replacing the diesel fuel, by replacing the diesel fuel system with the battery electric system, will have a major impact on the health of the society, as well as greatly reducing the cost of diesel fuel. We are proposing that with the assistance of the regional direction that we can supply sample vehicles of yard tractors or Class 8 heavy-duty drayage trucks for the use at the terminals of the Port Authority. And this effort will have a major impact on society because the distribution centers and terminals will all need charging stations, and charging stations can be used by local community for residents. This will create job opportunities, new skills required for automobile mechanics and so forth.
Thank you, sir. Next, Juke Su, and he'll be followed by Holly Kay.
Hi, good morning. Thank you, Lieutenant Governor Duffy and members of the Regional Economic Development Council. My name is Juke Su. I'm the founder of a nonprofit group called Coalition for Queens that's fostering the tech community in Queens. And today I'm also representing Plaxel, a family-owned manufacturing company in Queens that's been in existence since the 1930s, and they're one of the largest landowners in Long Island City, Queens. Today, I ask you to consider supporting the development of a new tech incubator in the Animal Basin neighborhood of Long Island City, Queens. There's a growing tech community in Queens, and our organization has over 4,000 members now working to enhance the tech community there. We've been working on education initiatives, working with premier tech incubators such as General Assembly to expand tech education in the borough, as well as hosting events such as the Queens Tech Meetup with over 200 members in attendance, working with great tech companies such as Songza and Shapeways. Through our experience, one of the big obstacles to the growing tech community right now in the borough is that there currently doesn't exist any co-working or tech incubator spaces, and we seek to create the first one. Our proposal is to create a tech incubator that's scalable up to 65,000 square foot of space that can house over 600 high-tech jobs. And we also plan to offer over 30 classes a month to educate professionals in these new tech skills as well. We have a very experienced operational team with an entrepreneurial background, with one of the founders of the organization working with one of the Facebook co-founders to create a tech company, as well as Plaxel has over 1 million square feet of real estate in Long Island City to manage space. And we also have signed on educational partners such as Skillshare, corporate ambassadors such as Ogilvy, as well as the board of advisors that include Donald Greenberg, director of Cornell's computer graphics department, Don Barber, the co-founder of New York Tech Meetup, and Congressman Joseph Crowley as a community advisor. This is a long-term investment as well. The tech incubator is only the first phase. This space is located on 12 acres of continuous waterfront property in Long Island City that can be developed into a cohesive tech community. It's within the Regional Council's strategic plan, located in Long Island City as an opportunity zone, and it's directly across from the future Cornell Technion campus of Roosevelt Island. Supporting and investing in this opportunity will also open up and transform the underutilized waterfront properties to create a vibrant hub, and that's in support of both Plan NYC and New York City's Vision 2020. In the future Cornell Technion campus estimates that 30,000 to 120,000 tech jobs will be created from it. Much of it will be in Western Queens. We hope that this tech incubator will be one of the first steps to help support Mayor Bloomberg's bold vision to creating this tech community here in the borough. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Holly Kay, and she'll be followed by Amy Bowden.
Good morning. It's a pleasure to speak with you. My name is Holly Kay, and for the last 30 years I've been a planning and development consultant with the privilege of working almost exclusively with community-based not-for-profits in local economic development activities. I've also formed between 15 and 20 business improvement districts throughout the city, and so my background is out of local economic development in general. During this 30 years, I spent 3 years as the founding executive director of the Lower East Side Conservancy, and I'm sorry the speaker had to leave because it was with his support that it continues to endure as both a preservation as well as a heritage tourism organization. And I'm here today to speak about the importance and the contribution of preservation of sacred sites, which I think you've heard prior speakers speak to, as not macro engines of economic growth, but micro ones. They exist in communities where often demographics have changed, and where the facilities themselves, often 100 and 150 years old, need serious addressing if they're going to endure. You heard one of my clients, Mount Lebanon Baptist Church, speak to the importance of the grant from New York State Environmental Protection Fund. Their $250,000 grant leveraged an additional $1.05 million in funds from other sources, enabling them to restore their building, continue to provide many of the programs that they provide, which have jobs associated with them. They generated short-term construction jobs for the work that was done. They've generated long-term permanent jobs for the programs that are operated. They leveraged additional institutional and private funding, and this is all over the city. You see these anchors of communities as being really important. I'd like to speak to this year's application for the Free Synagogue of Flushing. Mind you, Flushing is no longer a primarily Jewish community, but they have an exquisite physical plant needing millions of dollars of work. They've built bridges already with the Asian community and are providing services, and they will need the small amount of funding that's going to come through an EPF grant to generate a much larger dollar amount to stabilize this anchor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Amy Bowden, followed by Leslie Schultz.
Hi, good afternoon, everybody. My name is Amy Bowden. I'm the executive director for the Randall's Island Park Alliance. And I'm here to speak with you this morning about Randall's Island Park, give you a little background, and request your support for our continued initiatives. Randall's Island Park is obviously a waterfront park. It is about 400 acres, which is roughly, just by size, about half the size of Central Park in New York City. On Randall's Island, we have over 20 state-of-the-art tennis courts run by Sport Time with private investment of about $19 million. Sport Time runs annually every July a tennis tournament called World Team Tennis, started initially by Billie Jean King, that hosts tennis legends such as John McEnroe, Martina Hingis, and Serena Williams. It is a very family-friendly activity, World Team Tennis, low ticket cost and very family-friendly. We also host some of the city's largest scale special events at Randall's Island Park at the Harlem River event site. Just this past weekend, it was reviewed in the New York Times today, we hosted Governor's Ball. We've been doing annually the Electric Zoo Festival over Labor Day weekend. We've hosted Cirque du Soleil. And then just this year premiered the International Frieze Art Fair at Randall's Island, bringing increased vitality to the park. We also built, with a public-private partnership funding of $42 million, Icon Stadium, which hosts international track and field competition, including the Adidas Grand Prix, for which track records have been set. In addition, we have, with the mayor's support, built over 60 state-of-the-art athletic playing fields on the island, and we have an urban farm with support from Grow NYC, and we also have acres and acres of restored wetlands. Randall's Island needs your council support to continue to strengthen these initiatives and to support ongoing developments at the island. Access to and around the island is of critical importance to us. We need upgrades and infrastructure improvements at the Harlem River event site, and we seek to add appropriate and popular waterfront amenities, such as increased ferry service, docks, and beaches. Our specific ask currently is for $2.5 million in funding from both the New York State Department of State and New York State Parks to complete the final phase of a $8.5 million pathway structure called the Hillgate Pathway to take visitors from the north-south access to the island. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Next speaker, Leslie Schultz, should be followed by Dan Walsh.
Good morning. I'm Leslie Schultz, president of Brick Arts Media Brooklyn. Thank you very much for the opportunity to speak today about Brick and Brick Arts Media House, a vital new public cultural center being built right now in downtown Brooklyn. Brick reaches more than 750,000 people each year. Our programs showcase and nurture the diversity and creativity of the borough. A hallmark of our work is its accessibility. Most of our programming is provided free to the public, and we place a premium on creating a welcoming environment for artists and audiences alike. We look forward to expanding our work by deploying the exciting new facilities that the 40,000 square foot Brick Arts Media House will deliver. Brick House has been designed as a public art space. It will be a cultural forum, open from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., welcoming to artists, audiences, and casual visitors alike, brimming with cultural and civic programming. We will offer informal, free programming in the amphitheater cafe space, neighborhood-themed art exhibitions in the Contemporary Art Gallery, world-class artists, and live televised town hall meetings in the main performance space, and the work of emerging artists in our studio space. Brick House will be a major new destination for New York City. This shovel-ready project will have a transformative impact on downtown Brooklyn, creating jobs and improving quality of life for local residents and Brooklynites. The project entails an extensive renovation of a forbidding, derelict former vaudeville palace that went into tax foreclosure in the 1950s and until this year was 40% vacant and in desperate need of capital investment. The project leverages significant public and private support. The city is undertaking a major transformation of the infrastructure of the building, investing $32 million. This funding is secure and the work is underway. BRIC's build-out of the program spaces will cost approximately $11 million, of which $6 million has been raised. BRIC is now seeking additional funds towards the final $5 million needed to finish this project and open a fully equipped BRIC House to the public in fall 2013. BRIC House will play a transformative role in placemaking in the downtown Brooklyn Cultural District, both through provision of our accessible arts and media programs and in the reimagining of a bricked-up eyesore in the heart of downtown. BRIC House will create jobs. In the short term, this project is already making a vital contribution to ongoing economic recovery by creating approximately 500 construction jobs. Once we are fully open, 25 permanent jobs will be created, and our audiences and staff are expected to generate significant economic activity for surrounding local businesses. With your support, we will complete a cultural center for the 21st century that is primed for innovation. And with our unique capacity to transmit live programming to more than 500,000 Brooklyn households and beyond, BRIC House will bring Brooklyn to the world as a showcase for the artists and media makers who call this borough home. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Dan Walsh was apparently a duplicate, so we'll move on. William Wilkins is next, and he'll be followed by Max Joel. Is Mr. Wilkins here? Max Joel?
Sorry for that brief delay. My name is Bill Wilkins. I am the Director of Industrial Development for the Local Development Corporation of East New York. For those of you who go to church on Sunday, I have good news. And/or for those fans of Seinfeld, I'm actually bursting with some really outstanding news that I'm very pleased to share with the council today. Let me give you a little historical backdrop. Maybe about 8 years ago, a lot of studies came out of the state and the city that we need to really develop our biotech clusters, and in particular in the outer boroughs. With that, I was given the charge of doing a boundary amendment with my Empire Zone to create zone acreage for a boundary amendment at the Biotech Center at Downstate. This occurred, and in inception, our anchor tenant actually was going to be Inclone, but with Martha Stewart, that didn't go forward. What did go forward is an outstanding company that I'm in partnership today, and that's the BioSignal Group. We're able to roll up our sleeves and actually, with the Zones program, provide them with over $2.5 million in direct equity tax credits. That's to bring investments into the company to help this entity move forward in their research and development phase. The onset was for the R&D to take place at the Biotech Center and ultimately then move into manufacturing in some of our industrial business zones in Brooklyn. I am very pleased and proud to say that we, being BioSignal Group, just achieved FDA approval on Friday. Their product is an EEG machine that's the size of a smartphone, also with a swim cap, and the possibilities are endless. Right now, what we're looking to do in every single emergency department in the city, your temperature is taken and your blood pressure is taken. But 7% of all individuals entering the emergency department are also in a state of mental disorder. They cannot receive an EEG because of the size of the equipment and also a technician needing to be on site. And in addition, a lot of our area hospitals don't have a neuroscience department. With this new equipment, as I said, which is very modular, patients' EEGs can be read off-site. We're extremely happy about the possibilities of moving forward with this, and we very greatly need your assistance. So as agents of social change, let's also now start saving lives. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Max Joel, followed by Stephen Martin.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Max Joel. I'm the director of the Energy Connections Program at Solar One, which is a nonprofit green energy, arts, and education organization serving New York City. Thank you very much for the opportunity to testify on behalf of our Solar 2 project. We are seeking $1.5 million in capital funding through the CFA as part of the Zero Energy Building category in NYSERDA PON 2571. Solar 2 will be a new green energy arts and education center located on the East River in Midtown Manhattan. It will serve approximately 100,000 members of the community and visitors each year. It will be the city's first net zero energy building powered by a 92 kilowatt solar array and will draw no electricity from the power grid on a net annual basis. The building will also feature geothermal power, rainwater, gray water, and black water recycling systems, energy efficiency lighting and exhibits, green roof exposed mechanical systems, a vertically integrated farm, and a native wetland exhibit area. This is a fully feasible, shovel-ready project. We have $9 million in funds committed by other city, state, and private sources that will be leveraged by these funds. This will serve as last-in money that will allow the project to proceed into construction, which will be managed by the New York City Department of Design and Construction. Solar 2 is included in the Community Board 6-197A Master Plan, the New York City Comprehensive Waterfront Plan, and is specifically identified in Plan NYC 2030. This will represent the full realization of the community's vision for this site's transformation from an abandoned brownfield into a wonderful community asset. The project will have a transformative effect on New York's renewable energy and green building sectors. Even during construction, Solar 2 will provide an accessible learning model for building professionals as well as the general public. And growth in the large-scale solar deployment, as we'll be showcasing here, will contribute to multi-regional economic development as the entire solar value chain, from manufacturing to design and installation, is very well represented in New York State. Our economic impact of the project will include 120 temporary construction jobs, 24 permanent jobs, and an estimated $15 million in yearly indirect economic activity. This impact will be magnified by Solar 1's innovative partnerships and programs. Solar 2 will host Clean Tech Square, which builds on our highly successful Clean Energy Connections program, which we develop in partnership with the NYC Acre Incubator and NYU Poly to support our city's clean tech sector. It will also serve as a demonstration site for Solar 1's Green Workforce Development Program, which serves economically distressed communities through job training for unemployed individuals. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, Mr. Stephen Martin, and followed by Mr. Thomas Canosente.
Hi, my name is Stephen Martin. I am representing the Franklin D. Roosevelt Four Freedoms Park project on the southern tip of Roosevelt Island in New York City. This project will be complete this coming October. It's the only monument to the president in his home state, and the park, during its construction, employed over 200 New York State employees and was funded 70% with private support. The southern half of Roosevelt Island will soon become two distinct sites: the future Cornell Technion site and Four Freedoms Park, and an adjoining park known as South Point Park. Four Freedoms Park, presently, when Four Freedoms Park was designed in 1973 by the architect Louis Kahn, there were no support facilities, public bathrooms, staff offices, maintenance areas, since the plan at that time in the 70s was to put these facilities in the smallpox hospital. Four Freedoms Park would like to repurpose the smallpox hospital into a visitor center to include these facilities for the public. It might include provisions for light food and refreshments, a small auditorium for school groups, lectures, or other programs. We also realized that the shell of the smallpox hospital, which was designed by the architect James Renwick, who also did Grace Church here, and St. Patrick's Cathedral, a structure will need to be put in its place to both preserve and inhabit the structure. We also would like to bring a ferry service to this site. As the population of the island grows due to Cornell's development, we realize that this is crucial. The pilot The pilot program for ferry service in the East River has been very successful, but this service still needs to be brought to Roosevelt Island. We do look forward to partnering with the state on these projects. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, Thomas Conoscenti, followed by Tom McKnight.
Good afternoon, and thank you for this opportunity. My name is Tom Conoscenti, and I am the Executive Director for Planning at the Downtown Brooklyn Partnership. The Downtown Brooklyn Partnership is a not-for-profit economic development organization whose mission is to support the growth and success of area businesses, coordinate and expedite private and public development projects, and promote our unique and diverse amenities, institutions, and attractions to the world. I first would like to thank the Regional Council for its recognition and support of downtown Brooklyn as one of New York City's opportunity zones. As many of you know, downtown Brooklyn is undergoing a major economic renaissance with $3.7 billion of private investment over the past 5 years. And today, the business district is home to 100,000 employees, 1,400 hotel rooms, 150,000 shoppers per day, and over 15,000 residents. One recent trend that we have seen in downtown Brooklyn that I'd like to call your attention to is the emergence and growth of the technology sector. Recently, we partnered with the Dumbo Improvement District and the Brooklyn Navy Yard Development Corporation to conduct an economic impact study of this sector, and we found that tech employs around 9,600 jobs, occupying over 1.7 million square feet in the greater downtown Brooklyn area. In addition, based on a survey of companies in the area, the sector is poised to double in the next 3 years. To address this growth and ensure its benefit throughout our community, we formed the Brooklyn Technology Triangle Task Force, which is a collection of local stakeholders in the area to oversee the development of a strategic plan that addresses many of the challenges to growing the sector encompassing land use, infrastructure, transportation, economic policy, and workforce development. While this plan is being put together, we feel there is a major opportunity right now to address immediate issues the sector faces. Currently, we have a very low vacancy rate, less than 2%, for small office spaces in our area. With technology companies growing and small companies moving to Brooklyn, we need to find innovative and creative ways of bringing small commercial spaces to the market. To address this, the partnership is applying for the New York Main Streets program and the Urban Initiatives program in this round to provide matching grants to transform long vacant upper floors on Livingston Street and Fulton Street, particularly at the eastern end of downtown Brooklyn, to become offices for small, creatively driven companies. Activating these upper floors means generating taxes, creating job opportunities, and supporting industry growth. Additionally, Mayor Bloomberg recently announced that NYU will open an applied science campus in the long vacant MTA building at 370 J Street. This campus will become a transformative economic engine for our downtown Brooklyn, attracting talent across the world to develop cutting-edge technologies in our neighborhood. This campus will no doubt increase the number of startup companies in downtown Brooklyn, and we feel that providing spaces for them to do business is key. One type of space that we're starting to hear a great need for from a lot of these companies is step-out space. It's space for companies that are graduating from incubators. While we're in the process of identifying potential locations for step-up space, we feel that this is a major opportunity and we'll be coming to the council for support. Last, downtown Brooklyn has two of the biggest investments of our generation underway, Brooklyn Bridge Park and the Barclays Center, two projects which everyone here has been supportive of. And we just, more than ever, there's a need to connect these investments at the pedestrian level, and connecting the Flatbush median is one way to do it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Our next speaker is George Murillo, and to be followed by Michael O'Connor.
Hi, thank you for your time. My name is George Murillo. I'm with Capital Project Management at Columbia University Medical Center. Columbia University Medical Center and the Institute of Comparative Medicine are striving to meet the future needs for university biomedical research, and we're respectfully requesting your help in trying to meet those needs. We have an existing 11,000 square foot facility located in an existing building, the Hammer Building. It's on campus, and it's in critical need of extensive modernization and renovation to develop a state-of-the-art research facility. Our project goals are modernizing the aging mechanical infrastructure, realigning program adjacencies to improve functionality, increasing spatial and operational efficiency that'll allow for increased specimens census and increase in research capacity. We'd like to upgrade equipment and finishes, address deficiencies in physical and biosecurity, and this will also allow us for possible competing for NIH grants in the future. Because the facility is shared resource, a number of different biomedical researchers and departments. The modernization project will need to be designed and built with flexibility and efficiency. We're designing kind of a new state-of-the-art, larger research facilities, larger rooms that are shared with numerous researchers, so they could actually fit more people in these spaces. The overall project budget will be approximately $9.7 million, of which we're allocating $7.3 million for construction costs. The modernization of the 17th floor of the Hammer Building is a significant design and construction project within the CMU-MC campus. The design and construction requires employment of numerous skilled and unskilled laborers. The project will bring numerous high-paying construction jobs to Upper Manhattan, the Washington Heights neighborhood, where the campus is located. And Columbia has a 35% hiring goal for minority, women, and locally owned contractors and vendor participation. The creation of these high-paying jobs continue the strong tradition of Columbia University's key role in establishing economic engine for the local community. So thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. Next, Michael O'Connor, followed by Eric McFarland.
Thank you for the opportunity to discuss the NYU College of Dentistry's application for its biomaterials research program to be housed at 433 First Avenue between 25th and 26th Streets in Manhattan. My name is Michael O'Connor. I'm Vice Dean for Finance Administration at the Dental College. The 433 First Avenue building is a new interdisciplinary science building, which will be home to the NYU College of Nursing, will expand the research and teaching capacity of the Dental College, and bring together the departments of biomaterials with NYU Poly's Department of Bioengineering. We are asking today for $750,000 from the council to support the purchase of a nano CT scanner that is vital to the biomaterials research program. Biomaterial research works to develop new medical devices, including bone and dental implants, prosthetic body parts, and tissue and bone engineering. The aim of biomaterials research is to find innovative solutions to healthcare problems. Let me give you an example of the current research. Consider a child with a bone defect such as cleft palate. Current treatments for such a case are graft. This often requires long hospital stays and delays in function for the patient. Engineered tissue scaffold made of materials similar to bone material can offer an alternative to grafts in order to repair the bone defect. This can create large quantities of simple tools to meet the specific needs of the patient. They are less expensive and more effective than the current techniques, affording patients shorter hospital stays and quicker return to function. This is exactly what biomaterials research facilities will expand upon: solutions for health issues that are engineered in order to improve success, reduce cost, and improve the results for patients. This is an exciting new field that brings together many areas of study, and our new biomaterials research facility will bring together various schools throughout NYU under one roof, including dentistry, medicine, and bioengineering. Biomaterial research at our facility will strengthen city and state throughout developing new technologies and products in healthcare and strengthening the quality of life for our patients. We hope to gain more patents, more federal and non-federal research grants, all of which will further product development in this field and help maintain New York City and New York State as a leader in healthcare research. The nano CT scanner will be core at NYU, and we will make this instrument available for use to other healthcare professionals from institutions within the state. In addition to the research, there will be a creation of new jobs totaling 30 permanent positions, full-time faculty, postdoc fellows, and technical support. I thank you for your time and your consideration.
Thank you very much. And our last presenter is Eric McFarland. Eric, there should be an award given to you for being the last presenter.
Well, I want to thank you all for your stamina in letting us all speak. I think the people of New York owe you at least the dedication for providing jobs. My name is Eric McFarland. I'm the CEO and president of Urban Electric Power. It's the commercial entity that's been founded to commercialize the exciting battery technology that's coming out of the CUNY Energy Institute under the direction of Professor Sanjoy Banerjee. We're looking to the council to support our request for our enterprise building that will bring 100 technology jobs to New York by 2016 and over 300 by 2020. It's hard to find things more important than energy. Approximately 85% of New York's existing buildings and commercial operations are going to be there in 2030. Improving the energy efficiency by installing energy storage systems such as the ones we're developing will help customers to reduce both electricity costs and the demand charges that they're facing, to encourage new enterprise to come to New York because they can lower their energy costs. Our energy storage technologies also help address the peak load problem that is particularly germane in New York City, which is caused by the electrical grid congestion. Consolidated Edison has to build costly distribution upgrades to address this problem. The New York City load packet is a regionally critical issue, and solution to this problem could be derived from our technology. You've heard from the two previous speakers from CUNY about our battery technology. This is going to be spun out as a privately financed New York-based company, Urban Electric Power, and our mission is to move the CUNY Energy Institute technology out of the lab to a commercial product and production. Urban Electric Power is presently negotiating a license with CUNY. We intend to have them as an important shareholder and participant in this program, and we will continue to fund R&D work at CUNY throughout our existence. We're requesting your support in obtaining the state support for 2 stages of development. Stage 1, we're going to build a pilot manufacturing facility located in New York City, supported by private funds, CUNY Energy Institute funds, and a collaboration with Brookhaven National Laboratories. A NYSERDA-based project with New York Best. The facility will be capable of prototyping and batch manufacturing a wide range of electrical energy storage devices, including flow batteries, hybrid batteries, as well as conventional sealed batteries and capacitors. The second phase, which will be developed during the phase 1, will be to upgrade to a larger manufacturing facility. We're going to be requesting $20 million in support for the second phase of this. $10 million of that will be capital expense, and $10 million will be to support our ongoing R&D efforts. We intend to use the state and governmental support only in the infancy. Our ultimate goal is to have growth and success dependent upon private sector funding and profits. In parallel to the request to the council, we're also raising Series A funding of $20 million to support the process. We appreciate any support you can give us, and thank you very much for your time.
Eric, thank you very much. First of all, I want to just thank the public and all the presenters for coming and taking the time out of your day to come and present your projects. It's very, very important for you to do that, and we appreciate what you've done. The members of the council, I thank you for everybody hanging in there and being here. Very important for all of us to be here and listen. And I want to thank Irene Baker and her great team for all the work they've done between last meeting and now, behind the scenes, some of the things you don't see, but tremendous work. And Jay, I think on behalf of all of us, we thank you and CUNY and the Chancellor for hosting this again, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thank you.